Comprehensive Cancer Center. Join us inside our clubhouse or watch the great harness racing.
BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Hey, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome on into the Sports Bar, Rochester's only local sports talk show. Glad you've made us part of your day at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The Fan Rochester on our YouTube channel and on Twitch. And you can, of course, stream us on your phone through the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn as well. I am Mike Danger, back from assignment. Gene Battaglia, also in studio.
Assignment. Dude, you got more assignments than, I don't know.
I got work. I got a lot of work to do. But it was interesting to be in an area of the country where a hurricane is bearing down on you, where there's the threat of a hurricane coming your way. And it wasn't like it was going to hit it directly or head on, but people just a little bit more on their toes, just kind of like.
Oh, I would think that in our business, that's gold, right? Television, like, oh my gosh, where is this hurricane going? Oh,
that's right.
Whoever the Count Hetzko is down there must have been going
How
nuts.
many inches or how many feet will the storm surge be? Will it be 3, 4, 5 feet of storm surge? I don't know. So, back in the Flower City, and also of note, it's fall, right? I mean, like it felt like fall when I landed yesterday. It was kind of dank and cold and chilly, and I'm like, oh, fall is here. Very good.
Yeah, and U.S. Open's on, and look, of all the tennis events, this is the one I like. But then I realized, oh, this always reminds me that's it for summer, and I love football, and I want the NFL season to get here. But I made this honest, like we're getting on the air. Like I love the Fisher portion of camp. I can't get enough of it. I love what it means for hometown. I hate preseason football.
You're done with it.
I'm done with it.
Yeah,
I'm done with it.
Is it a week? Still a week too long for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I think if you thought last week was bad, Josh Allen's not playing this week, and I don't want him to play, Danger. I don't want him to play.
Right. I'm okay. I'm okay with 3 weeks. We got a couple of games tonight, one on NFL Network, one on Prime. I'll spend some time watching both. But almost like background noise, just like almost like comfort food, just you put it on in the background and it's ambient noise, but it's on. It's something that's like, I'm not really paying attention to, well, maybe I'll pay a little bit of attention to Pat's Giants because I have a feeling we'll see a certain quarterback whose last name ends in a vowel. Because he's Italian. We'll see Tommy Cutlets.
We didn't talk about how all of a sudden Jimmy Charlo became a star.
Jimmy Charlo.
Jimmy, we haven't talked. I haven't seen you.
Tuesday night was Hard Knocks. I watched Hard Knocks. It was one of the first things I did when I got home. And, Jimmy Charlo. Of course he's getting some run on Hard Knocks because he's Italian, Gino.
He's on the practice squad. You know
At
this.
minimum.
Yes.
At minimum, he's got everything there. I mean, to hear McDermott gush and single him out in a team meeting and like
everybody give a nice round of applause to Jimmy.
He's got a nickname. He calls him West Point. I mean, he's in. He is in. West Point. Nice play, West Point. Yeah, that's the kind of play we like.
Did Jimmy Charlo wrestle?
Oh, good question. Good question. Catnip for Sean McDermott. If you're a high school or college wrestler, he wants you on his practice squad. That would be an automatic. We are going to talk plenty of Buffalo Bills this afternoon. Did you get an answer?
Well, you know how you Google something and it just kind of crosses out the word wrestler, so it leads me to believe you was.
Lots of Bills talk this afternoon in the sports bar. Some of our favorites joining us, including Nate Gary from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network. You hear him on WGR. He'll be stopping by the sports bar right around 4:25.
We're way overdue for an appearance from Nate Gary. So finally we connect here. Nate will get his takes. What's going on with his secondary? He's been filling in for Jeremy White this week, so he's fully up to speed on this team. And you'll hear him Saturday hosting on the Buffalo Bills Radio Network, 5 o'clock for our coverage Saturday, Bills and Bucks. Our buddy Nate Geary from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network and WGR coming up at the 4 o'clock hour.
Joining us later this hour, it's Thursday. That means we get a check-in from our buddy Dan Fates at 13 Wham Sports and Buffalo Plus.
Yeah, same deal. Let's go over some of the things that happened today out there, and they're all not great. So we'll talk a lot of Buffalo Bills here as we're ramping up for the weekend. Dan Fates, Buffalo Plus, 13 Wham joining us.
Yeah, what the hell, man? You got an injury to Trey White, leaving with a leg injury. You had Christian Benford exit practice a little bit early. He says he's okay.
He says he's okay. It's the White one that, okay, tell me more. And when you hear cards, like, oh, wait, what? Let's kind of lay this out today. They were practicing inside the stadium. More often than not, they practice on the grass field. Today was inside the stadium, which is a longer walk from they don't use the game day locker rooms. You use the team locker rooms, which is by the field house. Yeah. And then, so if there was something that was wrong, he might have just hopped on the cart, just let's not make it any worse. Or then your mind might go to the worst case situation. So with Tre'Davious White, that's going to be the storyline we're following.
For as great a camp as he has had, I will remember, in the words of Sean McDermott when he spoke to us, ring in my head, let's manage our expectations on that. Let's temper our enthusiasm, because he is coming off of 2 significant injuries, and he's up there. He's not the player he once was. He looks great in camp. It's been a nice preseason for Trey White so far.
That was never the plan. It was really maybe he starts a little bit, and then Maxwell Harrison, and Harrison gets hurt. The question, who might be next? Maybe it's Dorian Strong. And if we're sticking with the secondary, Jordan Hancock could have been the surprise starter in the safety position. And Danger, like, if I had to say what were the top storylines while you were gone, that was number one, that Sean McDermott, which is very, very blunt, going back 2 days ago, where it was one of those, like Scooby-Doo perking his ears up, talking about the safety position. Like, oh, okay. Like, our eyes weren't deceiving us here. Like, they're really not happy with what's next to Taylor Rapp.
So this is McDermott today. And I know we talk about what he said earlier, like what you're referencing is from a couple of days ago, right? This was Sean McDermott a couple of days ago on the team potentially looking for help alongside Taylor Rapp.
I think we're looking for that other safety to play alongside of T-Rapp. There's been really good moments for all those guys back there, young and some of the more veteran guys that are back there and have played for us. But I think we're still looking to find who is it going to be, right? And how consistent can they become, and how quickly can they grow if they're a younger player. And so you're always looking to figure that other piece out. Right now for us, we know who T-Rapp is. We know what he brings to the table. It's what other piece can go along with T-Rapp.
So today, McDermott, speaking to the media, had this to say on Cole Bishop.
I'm looking forward to this weekend, watching Cole. Cole will play this weekend a little bit as well, so we'll go from there. But, again, I've said before, fully confident in Cole. It's the reps that he needs to create these calluses that you get when you're young and trying to grow in a position. And but being out there is how you get that experience.
So doesn't tell you anything that he's, the leading candidate as starter. We're joined Tuesday by Matt Perino. Who he thinks is going to start week 1?
Hamlin.
Nope. Guess again.
What? Ingram? No. Cam Lewis.
Cam Lewis, the candidate that's hanging around. Hancock getting hurt at the end of the Bears game, that stings. That was one like, okay, can we see him out there this week? He's not practicing this week. You're not going to see him out there. He's got the shoulder injury. It's something he's going to return from at some point. So they are not confident. So there's 2 guys we're all going to be like, okay, one being Cole Bishop. Can Cole Bishop go out there, show you the things that he's capable of, and at least, all right, we might not be happy with this, but this is going to be the plan week 1 against the Ravens. Mind you, I thought he was okay in the Ravens playoff game last year. Had a nice open field tackle on Mark Andrews. The other guy, Danger, if I just kind of sneak this in real quick, is the kicker. Tyler Bass is the kicker. Don't be missing kicks, because I don't want to be taking calls or thinking about anything about that entering week 1. Just go out there, make your kicks, and we'll call it a night.
So we have confirmation that he'll be out there kicking this weekend.
They don't have another kicker. They released Cade Davis.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a few things I missed while I was gone. Thank you for catching me up.
I'm catching you up. If I may catch you up on something else here, too, Danger. Yeah. Because this goes into the, oh gosh, what is he talking about? Just inventing phrases here. When I think it's a legit conversation about, who's going to be the 5th or 6th wide receiver. And the question was asked, okay, how do you balance Shavers versus Curtis Samuel, veteran versus this? And Sean McDermott just kind of invented a phrase. At least I'm not aware of this in management or anything else.
That's real. You try and look at everything through the truth window and say, this is what we know, this is who this player is and what they've shown us this year. You try and also look back at the history a little bit too and say, what has the history said to us and how has that spoken to us? And so you try and put it all together. It's not easy to do, and it's never always the same from one case to another, but you try and say, what do we know right now, right, from this camp? And because sometimes that's, all you can evaluate, especially when someone hasn't taken a lot of reps, whether it's Curtis or some of the other guys that have just not been able to rep to camp to this point.
I think filter would have been the word he was looking for. Not window, but filter. A
Or you
filter
just say,
of truth.
Or you just say we got to be honest about ourselves.
Yeah.
I searched that. I'm like, is this a management phrase?
I've never heard truth
window.
Yeah, I've never heard truth window.
Truth window. So,
but you view things through a filter of this or
Yeah.
filter of that. And in this case, you look at it as a position and you say, all right, what is true about Curtis Samuel? What do we know about him? What do we know about Tyrell Shavers? And view it through the filter of truth rather than truth window. What is
So you could imagine, our snarky listeners tweeting
the
and
regulars?
things. Yeah, it's whether it's the meme of the guy pointing to himself in the mirror, or there was the people love me, that character from Saturday Night Live.
Oh
looking in the
yeah,
window.
Stuart Smalley.
Stuart
Yeah,
Smalley.
yeah.
Like, what other things could be the truth window? We're
Do
looking
you think Sean McDermott goes home for some daily affirmations? Gets done with some hot yoga, looks at himself in the mirror and says, doggone it, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and people like me. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough.
People like me.
People like me. Okay, so
That was a thing too, and then lots of positive feedback from Maggie showing up on our show yesterday.
Oh, Maggie, yeah, Maggie Gray.
When we booked her, we didn't know we were going to be called into other duties here with our fine company. So she was kind enough. She was great once again. And the thing about Maggie is, not only is she going to come in with Bill's takes, they are takes that are forward thinking and kind of get us thinking. And her concern watching Hard Knocks was this. The theme of episode 2, one of them, energy. Sean McDermott talking about energy and talking about how he wants the team to play. And then, well, they didn't exactly show it in the Chicago game, but then you're putting it up against Ed Oliver and his horses and Deion Dawkins and the drifting. And just ask Maggie the question, like, wait a second. You took care of James Cook. You took care of Rousseau and Benford, and you took care of everybody else that needed to be taken care of up to this point. Is complacency going to set in? And Maggie says that's a real fear, but then she took it a step further.
And I'm not trying to be negative here, but I just see something that might be a little realistic. And again, I could be completely wrong, but I am a diehard Bills fan, so I could see it maybe going this way. I could see them actually starting 0-2. I could see it and then, ripping off 4 in a row or something like that. I don't know how much to read into Hard Knocks, but it just did feel like there wasn't a lot of juice, and Sean McDermott has kind of said as much. And I think that the Ravens are going to come in with some serious, revenge on their mind. And I could see that game. I could see it going a lot of different ways, let's be honest. And then, you see what happens week 2 with the Jets. It's always tough, those divisional games. The Jets always give the Bills a little bit of trouble anyway. And then maybe they rip off, like I said, 4 or 5 in a row. But, yeah, I'm definitely a little concerned on the defense. And, the offense, I think they've earned the benefit of the doubt. No doubt that, they're an explosive offense. Not a lot of big names in the receiving core, but that's what Josh Allen is for, right? He'll be the rising tide that lifts everybody.
0-2. I mean, I think we're all reserved to the idea that the Ravens could beat the Bills week 1, right? The Bills beat the Ravens, but it was close, and there was a couple of things that went their way.
And in the regular season, Baltimore whacked Buffalo, and that's rare in the McDermott era that, all right, this is not your night. Let's look ahead to next week. Look, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to take the Ravens. The Jets? Come on. But then again, it's the Bills team under McDermott that lost Zach freaking Wilson.
The defense is the concern. The secondary is the concern. We haven't seen a ton of all of them out there together as a unit, but I'm certainly concerned about the secondary. Here's what I'm not concerned about. I'm not concerned about Justin Fields. I'm just not. Guys, I mean, take it from me.
Okay.
I watched him start his career. You saw if he was worth saving, do you think Pittsburgh would have kept him around?
For what they were paying him?
Do you think
they were paying
him
nothing?
Do you think they would have kept him around because they didn't feel he was valuable to their organization? They let him walk. And he goes to the Jets, and the Jets can say we're optimistic, but I don't know if it's between his ears. I don't know. I mean, athletically, he is gifted. There's no question about it. He is an unbelievable athlete. He is not a very good quarterback. And that's what the Jets are dealing with this year. A guy who is just not a very good quarterback. So good luck with that. I'm not concerned about Justin Fields and the Jets. I would say the Jets' defense has me probably a little bit more concerned what they might do to the Bills' offense. But the Bills' offense is such a strength that they should be able to score 30 points against the Jets. You would think they could score 30 against the Jets.
The Jets had a terrible run defense last year. So have they made improvements? Sure. But that would be step number one. You don't have to do anything flashy in that game. But as Maggie said, it's a divisional game. You just can't automatically say that. But yeah, it's easy to be concerned about this Bills team. Are we more – but let me ask you this question. Are we more concerned about the Bills team this year at this point right now as compared to this point last year?
Well, maybe this goes to your original point of preseason being too long. Right?
Yeah.
A week ago, I don't think we're talking this way. But this week, after seeing what – I mean, imagine if the season started after you just lost 38-0 in the preseason. And you have to leave on that sour note and start your season week one against the Ravens. So I guess in this regard, the fact that you have one more game, and it'll be a lot of guys fighting for their careers and fighting for their jobs, you'll have one more game to try and get right, to try and iron out any wrinkles before you get to Baltimore on that Sunday night, week one. Are we as concerned this year? No, I don't think we are. I think last year we were more concerned because last year there was more noise about this team taking a step back. And last year's preseason, if you remember, wasn't all that impressive either. No,
I think this time last year you had no idea how this offense was going to look. And this time last year, you open up, let's skip ahead to week one. You're down double digits to the Arizona freaking Cardinals, and you're like, wow, they're going to lose to Arizona. If you don't believe me, go back and look at the timeline on your social media feed at that
Allen
point.
had to play hero ball.
And he did, and he hurt his hand. But, yeah, week one is going to be an adventure here for Buffalo.
Can't wait. Well, we'll get through week 3 of the preseason. It gets underway tonight. The Bills, of course, Saturday night in Tampa, and we'll have the coverage for you here on the Fan Rochester, your home of Buffalo Bills football. All right, I think I'm caught up now, Gino. I think I'm caught up.
I think so. I mean, what was the big story from baseball? It leaked out that NBC's going to get Sunday Night Baseball. They're going to get Apple's losing Friday night. That's going to go over to Peacock. NBC gets the wild card round, apparently. None of this is official, by the way. It's just all kind of leaking out. And Netflix gets the home run derby. But
it wasn't lost on me that Major League Baseball themselves put out the potential for realignment.
Well, that was from Sunday night.
Yep.
And that was...
Because we talked about that on Monday.
Yeah, and at the risk of sounding like baseball writer, it's gross and disgusting just to throw everything away. That's not me.
No, that's baseball writer.
That's baseball.
Yeah. No, I think when I saw that it was being put out there by Major League Baseball, I know Manfred talked about it on Sunday night. We talked about it a little bit on Monday. But then when I saw that baseball actually did a graphic saying this is what it would look like, I'm like, oh, they want that. They actually want that.
They definitely want that. And everything is kind of choreographed because what demographic is watching the Little League game? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's people that are younger that really aren't tied to American League and National League Baseball. And then if you just say, hey, would you like more Mets Yankees? Yes. Woof. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Nod your head here. You hit it on right off the get-go. Manfred's like, whoa, our players and the travel, it'll save time.
Save money. It will save money is what it will save. Yes,
Yeah.
It will save money because you're not traveling across the country as much. Yes, okay. Good. Now that we've got that out of the way, we cleared that up. There was this note, too, that I saw cross my feed. I believe this is from the last 24 hours, Gino, but with Harrison Phillips being dealt to the Jets, I mean, that's a name we're all familiar with here. Does that do anything for you? Does that make you think anything different about the Jets? Harrison Phillips, to me, I know he was beloved when he was here, Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. Everybody loved Harrison, Horrible Harry. But as a player, I think the Bills have upgraded tenfold at that position.
He's an ideal back. Is that fair? Like and this came back up on my feed. Oh my gosh, yes. And Harrison Phillips, he caused the fumble by Josh Allen that led to the Vikings' miracle win. And yeah, that was 2 seasons ago. It creates some cap space for the Vikings.
Right.
So,
he was probably going to be cut.
Right.
So this is a situation where they just get something in return.
I don't think we're going to have a Harrison Phillips revenge game in week 2.
No.
I like the guy. We've had him on the show.
But this is the kind of thing that you see now happening for guys that are probably going to get cut. They just get dealt instead. You get something, even if it's a pick swap, late round picks.
Outside of Curtis Samuel, which I think is a pipe dream. We've been over this. Is there anybody else on this Bills team that fits that criteria? Like somebody that, hey, we know he's not making the team. Let's trade him now.
No, it's Samuel for me. And I mean that's the one that makes too much sense.
AJ Epineza.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, maybe, but Dwayne Carter is like a Boogie Basham kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think to myself, but I don't think Dwayne Carter's. I think he's making this team. I don't think he's in trouble.
That those two guys that are going to be suspended, it throws a wrench into everything.
It really does.
Yeah.
Let's get to Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports, Buffalo Plus. We'll get his take from today's practice, one that we saw both Trey White and Christian Benford exit early. One looks a little bit more to be severe than the other as far as injuries are concerned. Benford, telling everybody he's straight after practice. Trey White, on the other hand, remained to see exactly how severe this leg injury is that saw him leave practice early. We'll talk about the preseason finale in Tampa. Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports and Buffalo Plus, joining us next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
Fan Rochester Sports Update.
For practice today, Tre'Davious White left early. He was on a cart. Now it's a long way back to the locker room, but it's something we're looking for more info on. Christian Benford also left practice early, but Benford says he's fine. Sean McDermott confirming that Josh Allen ain't going to play this week.
You got the reigning MVP, and I feel like he's shown to this point that he's in a good spot. He and I talk about that, and listen, he's always going to want to play. That's what competitive people want to do. They want to play, but I have a responsibility as well to protect him, and in doing so, protect our team. So, again, I think he's on schedule, and he's looked good.
Bills and Bucks, 5 o'clock for our pregame coverage beginning tomorrow. Scheduled to talk to Dan Fates, 13 Wham, and Buffalo Plus coming up. Rochester Red Wings, they're getting thumped 13-6, losing to Toledo. They're in the 7th. Yankees tonight hosting the Red Sox. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I referenced this earlier, Joe. He's looked good. He came back, I think, the first day there. He's been back 2 days, I believe, and the first day, looked good and looked fast, looked fresh, which happens when you're not out there through the 18, 17 practices leading up to then, or 15, whatever it was. So, yeah, he's looked good, and now it's, hey, how does he look through the weekend here? And then what's the role, right? So everyone has to have a role, and how big or small is it, and what does it look like? And some of that's, with Joe and our offense and working with Josh and getting that, rapport built back up.
Bills head coach Sean McDermott on wide receiver Curtis Samuel on his return to practice.
So you're of the opinion that we could have a Sammy Watkins kind of showcase here?
Oh, right. Yeah. I think if you're going to talk about, teams that are moving off of players, like the Chiefs moving off of Sky Moore, you saw that, right? Yeah. So Sky Moore, former second-round pick, he gets dealt to the Niners, and he does so because the Chiefs were going to cut him. Like, you're not making the team. So you're still young, you still have value. I don't know that I put Curtis Samuel in the same bucket. He's not as young as a player like Sky Moore. You imagine that he's still got something to give, but you really need to see him on Saturday, like really have a game, like showcase him, let him take over. I mean, if he's a starting wide receiver or if he's a rosterable wide receiver in the NFL, then he should make hay against whatever Tampa's throwing out there.
I did my first ever Mike Danger impression yesterday. Didn't go very well when that topic came up.
Oh, boy. You impersonated me.
Yeah, there's talking about Curtis Samuel, and like when we talk with Dan DeLorean, like could they trade him? Like, well, I will recall the Vikings game when they showcased Sammy Watkins, and he got the first 3 targets in that game, and I could see the Buffalo Bills doing the same thing. It's again, I preface this by saying it's not a very good Mike Danger.
No, that wasn't.
No, it's not good at all.
I don't think I sound like that.
Yeah.
I'm
Mike Danger.
That would be them telegraphing the pass, right? Like they knew then that they weren't long for Sammy Watkins. Like this guy ain't going to stay on this team. And so they made it look like right before they dealt him, no, he could play. Watch. And he had a great preseason game. I don't know that I put Curtis Samuel in the same boat as Sammy Watkins was then that first season with McDermott.
Not even close. Not even close.
He's here. He's they got the Carolina roots. I think they like Curtis Samuel. I just think Curtis Samuel hasn't been on the field all preseason, so we're allowed to speculate, like, what are they going to do? The contract is not a great contract. And if you can move off of that contract, the best way for you to get off of that contract is to trade it. But far from me to believe that there's a team out there that would look at that contract and be like, oh, yeah, we'll take that on for you. That would be mighty generous of another team, a wide receiver needy team. Why do you need, to worry about Curtis Samuel? Gabe Davis is still out there.
I'm a little stunned. Actually, I shouldn't be.
I mean, when last I heard, Gabe Davis second visit with the Steelers. I'm like, second visit with the Steelers? I mean, he's all but wide receiver 2 on that team. Go ahead, sign him.
He's not healthy. I think we can all kind of deduce that if you're the Saints, you're the Giants, like, why wasn't this guy in any camp? You would want a receiver like that, especially when Jacksonville's picking up the tab. What is it? And the second, said this half jokingly because I think maybe there's a shred of truth to this. The first visit with the Steelers didn't have the chief decision maker.
Correct. The GM wasn't there. Yeah. And now that he is, he can take a look at him. Sean McDermott had this to say on Gabe Davis.
From my standpoint, had a good conversation with Gabe, just getting caught back up on things and kind of his journey over the last year or so. And it was a good conversation. And then, really from there, that was it at this point for me. I know he had, did some other things in the building and with our medical staff as well. But for me at that point, that was it. But it was good to see him. Good
conversation.
Medical staff. That's what you had to hear there. Like they're checking him out. Good conversation. Conversation's not a winner word. It's not going to happen at this point. Just like if he's not healthy, what are we doing here? Maggie Gray had the take that it's like getting together with an ex. I don't know if I would go that far, but we had people pointing out, oh yeah, that was right. Like he got into it with some Bills fans at the end of the season during, I forget the exact context, but you can go look that up. But the only way he comes back to this team, Danger, is the Josh Norman, Micah Hyde route. Hey, we like you. We're going to onboard you through the practice squad. And if a need arises, then we'll call you up. He's 26. He's not fancying himself as this is my last chance. He's the same age as Tyrell Shavers, which is crazy to think about. So for Gabe Davis, just 3 years removed from having one of the greatest playoff games, not in Bills history, in NFL history, for crying out loud. And now this is where we're at. It's humbling, but I think it's clear he's not healthy.
Did you take away, and you forgive me if you brought this up yesterday, but my takeaway on James Cook signing his deal from Hard Knocks, at least the way it was portrayed, he wasn't happy with that deal.
That's funny. Well,
I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, that's just him. That's just Jimbo. That's his personality. Can't get him to smile." No, I think he saw this as his way out of Buffalo. He saw this as his opportunity to make that $15 million that he put out there, and he didn't get close to that $15 million. He left millions on the table with the stroke of a pen.
No, I'm surprised. I'm not going to fault him, number one, for taking that, because if you're doing all the pros and cons, one of the cons is you get hurt and then you're going to get much less. That's the cold reality of this. Get the money when you can. Funny, we kind of did our prop bets on Hard Knocks on Tuesday. I put it at 1/2. Brandon Beane, James Cook, man hugs. Danger, there were 3 of them.
Yeah.
3, and then McDermott for a bonus one. So there was a lot of we love this and everything else, but
he didn't look very happy.
I put it in the same category of Pam Oliver live television. I didn't listen to a word you said. He's spacey. Yeah. I'm saying that in a nice way. He's just kind of spacey, and he's wearing the sunglasses going in. He doesn't want to take the photo, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was like, I don't want to do this, but okay. And I want to point something else out, too. Very clever by Brandon Beane. You don't want to be learning, because we were all wondering, entering, Hard Knocks. Well, I would love to hear negotiating tactics for Brandon Beane. Would love to hear. Now, they have final say on things, but you know how you avoid that? When did the deal get done, Danger? I'll tell you.
Late night.
11 o'clock at night. Do you think the Hard Knocks cameras follow Brandon Beane inside the house, into his office, which is right outside his bedroom? No, they didn't. So, sure, you're doing this offline. So when the agent calls up and you see his name on the cell phone, come on, that was BS. That's all staged. The deal is already done. You could just hear the conversation was so fake.
Yeah, we got this done.
We got this done.
Yeah, let's just get this done.
Yep.
Yeah, that to me wasn't a nothing. I know that people will say that that's just who James Cook is. That's just his personality. But, man, he just made a lot of money, and there is nary a smile to be found.
I take the wider lens of the risk of paying everybody. Didn't work out with the Sabres, did it? Gee, they're not comparable. Nope, they're not. But
I see.
Yeah.
So are you concerned that because everybody got theirs, everybody got extended this offseason? They took care of that entire draft class, almost that entire draft class, right? Like all these guys, whether you're talking about Shakir or Groot or now James Cook, they all got there. So if you're comparing and contrasting to what the Sabres have done, the Sabres taking care of a lot of their young players that they have developed, and it hasn't quite panned out in any successful way for the Sabres, where you have guys that are kind of underperforming since signing their deals, and you could just say downright fat and lazy, that they got paid and they just haven't lived up to the money that they're getting paid.
We found them. 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus. Dan Fates joining us. Dan, if you want to jump in here, any concern that about complacency with everybody getting paid at once? Dan, how are you today?
I'm doing well, guys. As you can imagine, I was picking up my litter of kids from my parents' house. So we are driving back from an afternoon. So if you hear some audience members in the background, it's them.
We've been there.
So you talk about some of the complacency. None of the guys have been paid like their big names. So I feel like I saw somewhere they said where these guys are getting paid is all compliant to where they are. Nobody's really getting paid top 10 money besides James Cook. So I don't think anybody feels like they've really arrived. They haven't accomplished anything. We're not talking about all pro or anything like that. So I think that all plays into a factor of it. So I don't think that's a big deal. I think it's more of the putting the past behind them and continuing to get better moving forward and accomplishing that dream of and the goal of winning a Super Bowl.
Dan Fates of 13 Wham Sports at Buffalo Plus joining us in the Sports Bar. We'll talk about today's practice with you, Dan, and we'll look ahead to Saturday night's preseason finale. But just one more note on that. And this is something I noticed from Tuesday night, and I don't want to go over scorched earth, but James Cook didn't look happy as he was signing that deal. And I know a lot of people will say that's just him. That's his personality. Do you think James Cook kind of like was already kind of had his bags packed and was ready to leave Buffalo to get that $15 million a year that he believes he is worth, and this was the Bills' attempt with their agent to basically sell him on the idea of staying here, taking the money before he potentially gets injured and loses millions of dollars?
Well, I think what was interesting, what we saw on that Hard Knocks clip was the Bills posted, I think, a clip on there embedded or something about that. The fact of that when James was signing originally, putting pen to paper, he was in tears. He was emotional. He was on the phone, speakerphone with his family. And then the Bills were like, hey, James, we got to take the picture. And he wipes away his tears and then puts on the sunglasses to kind of give that tough look.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, after it's done, he gets emotional again. So you got to see how much that means to him. And you heard Josh talking about it, the generational wealth that it is. So it's kind of funny that Hard Knocks kind of picked the parts that they did because it almost fits the James Cook persona of a guy that doesn't talk much and all these things, when in reality, how much it meant to him was the longer version of the video that we saw on the Bills' social media of him, tearing up. And the reason he put on those sunglasses to take the picture was because it meant a lot to him. And to get paid was important.
That is good context there. Dan Fates, 13 Wham Buffalo Plus. Dan, the secondary, a big concern. Let's start at the safety position. How surprised are you that Sean McDermott at the beginning of this week pretty much said out loud what we're all thinking, that right now they don't have an answer next to Taylor Rapp?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I expected. We've heard a lot about this, is that like your play on the field has to earn – your play in practice has to earn you playing times in games and to be named the starter and all of those kind of things. So guess what? Cole Bishop, because he hasn't been on the field much, hasn't earned that projected starter position like he's been given on the depth chart. And that was one of those things where I said, I think about a week or two ago on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, I go, DeMar's going to start because they trust him. They know what he is. He knows the system, all of those things. And then we kind of heard, obviously, what Bobby Babich said, and you kind of heard more about – Mike asked a question to Babich, which I thought was just such a really good question, comparing Cole Bishop to Terrell Bernard. And when he was named the starter for the middle linebacker, remember, Tremaine Edmonds had been let go and Terrell Bernard had been injured pretty much that entire camp with a hamstring injury and hadn't played at all. And when he played his rookie year, it wasn't good. And Tyrell Dodson actually got a majority of those snaps as the middle linebacker, first team in that training camp. And then they just went week one, and it was Terrell Bernard. And so part of that, I think, is blind faith. And blind's probably not the correct adjective to use, but it's, hey, we're gonna go with the guy we think is the best for us. And maybe he hasn't shown it to us, but that's what we're going to go with, and we're going to see how it turns out. Maybe it turns out like Terrell Bernard and is a fringe Pro Bowl player and what you think is a core piece of your future, or it could turn out to be Gabe Davis or insert any other player that they had as a projected starter and didn't. Babich also talks about the key of what they're looking for with the safety position, and what told me yesterday that it's going to be Cole Bishop as the starting safety is the most important thing for defenses and safeties is to do is to cover space. He says that is what offenses are trying to do, is trying to get space. And so you need to cover it. And DeMar Hamlin doesn't cover space. That is not his strength. And so that leads me to believe they are going to give Cole Bishop the start. They're going to see where it is, because you know what DeMar Hamlin gives you. You know his limitations and you know his strengths. It's kind of like he's setting the floor, but he has such a low ceiling that they're going to go with the guy that they think is more athletic and can cover space more. The opinion has changed in the last week about, I think it will be Cole Bishop, right or wrong, good or bad, will be the starting safety against Baltimore on Sunday night.
If Jordan Hancock were healthy, and it's a hypothetical because he's not going to play, but could we see Hancock at some point? What are your thoughts on his play overall this camp, Dan?
Yeah, I really do like him. I think he's flash. I think in a perfect world, I think it's still too early. He's just kind of drinking from a fire hose at this point, not just at the safety position, which is so difficult. You talk to safeties that have been here before, or safeties that haven't worked out before, right? I think of Mike Edwards last year. I think of Derek Forrest. And we talked to guys that say, like, why is it so difficult to play safety in a Sean McDermott, Bobby Babich defense? It's the amount of checks that you have to do in real time pre-snap, and that's very difficult. So I don't think Jordan Hancock is there yet. I think the perfect vision for Jordan Hancock, at least in the intermediate or maybe next year, is that he can be the next Cam Lewis, the jack of all trades. And I mean that in a compliment. I don't mean that in a negative way. Cam Lewis does a lot of things. He is a valuable piece to this defense who can play a bunch of different positions, that has carved out a role. I think that in the short term, that's what they would want him to be. Long term, could he be a safety replacement for, say, Taylor Rapp? Could he be the nickel replacement for Taron Johnson as he gets older? I think that's the long-term goal, but I think in the, right now, you're looking at somewhere in that Cam Lewis type range right now.
Dan, from practice today, we saw Trey White exit early with a leg injury. Yeah. We saw Christian Benford exit early. He says that he's fine, but man, you think about the secondary for the Buffalo Bills and what we're talking about with safety, also now at corner being held together with bubble gum and paper clips. I mean, what does this look like when we get to week one?
Hopefully Trey White's okay. I think, and hope is a dangerous game to play. But we were trying to look at it, like how many cornerbacks are they keeping on the 53? And I know it's changed. Like the 53, like it's kind of hard to think about where this was 5 years ago, pre-COVID, what the practice squad was and where it is now, with the ability to call up guys for special teams and to fill in roles with injuries and stuff like that, which I think is a good thing. But right now, like we were looking at it, like Dane Jackson has been really bad. Like, and he was really bad last year in Carolina. And you thought, well, it's Dane Jackson. Like, you're familiar with him. And maybe, he gets back in Buffalo, knows the system, and it's going to be better. It really hasn't been better. But when you start talking about the amount of injuries that they're kind of piling up, I know there's been some rumors that, like, hey, is Jamarcus Ingram fighting for a roster spot? I've never thought that was the case. He's too valuable at special teams, and then what he can also be as a corner, as a fourth corner. But now you're looking at maybe needing Dane to play snaps, and, where do you see some of these other guys that are behind them that their names are slipping me right now, but Codrington is not really a corner. He's much more of a return guy. If anything, it's not looking great, especially when, Maxwell Harrison is still in a knee brace and is still nowhere near getting back. So you can see him kind of going on IR for the first 4 weeks and then kind of figuring the rest out. But they really need Trey White to be better. And the sad thing is, too, guys, for as good as he looked in Rochester, he hasn't looked great the last 2 weeks up in Buffalo for practices. So that was starting to get a little bit of a concern to begin with. And then obviously the injury that we don't know the severity of it or really what it is yet. Not great.
Dan, last one from me. It's about the wide receivers. 1, 2, 3 we know, and we heard Sean McDermott count out 4, 5. It's a 4, 5, 6. Is it 4?
Yeah.
More Samuel, Shaver, Chenault, anybody else. How is the back end here going to shake out? Somebody's going to be the odd man out.
I just want to start by saying I'm just very out on the Gabe Davis. I've made my points very clear. I don't understand the upside, but I'm also not going to try and sit here and say I'm objective about Gabe Davis. There are just some players you have in your mind, guys, that your mind is made up. And my mind is made up about Gabe Davis. The fact that the Jaguars are paying him lots of money to go away also tells me a lot about where he is, those kind of things. I think Curtis Samuel does have an edge because of being familiar with the system. Like if he was in Elijah Moore's case and still trying to find a role and understand the offense, I'd be more concerned. But we saw Curtis Samuel play well at the end of the year. I bought a lot of stock this offseason in him. So I think he's safe as the number 4 wide receiver. The 5th wide receiver, I think, comes down to whether it's Elijah Moore and Tyrell Shavers. I'm very big on the Shavers fan club. Look, this isn't just one training camp that he's had. Last year was also a really good camp. What will be telling for me, guys, is if they really think Shavers can be the guy, he's going to have to play special teams. And he's only played, which he did play in college, and he said he's been willing to do it and would love to do it and all these things. He's going to need to play teams on Saturday and down in Tampa. I'm going to need to see him play special teams in a game. Like, if he starts playing special teams in this game, then I think that gives him a really good shot to be 5. I don't know if they take 6 wide receivers. And we all know that nothing is more talked about in every training camp across the country than who is the 5th and 6th wide receiver. Will a team keep 6? Will they keep 5? But I just look at this and I say Tyrell Shavers. I don't see him as wide receiver 6. I see him as wide receiver 5. I've never been high on the Elijah Moore kind of hype train. He's a guy that is what he is. He is on his 3rd team in 5 years. And for everybody that says, well, he's had poor quarterback play, I say Jerry Jeudy had no problem with the quarterback play in Cleveland, and Garrett Wilson had no problem with the quarterback play to put up big numbers in New York. So I just think Elijah Moore is a little forgettable in my opinion, and he hasn't shown me enough to be that case. And I know his contract is what his contract is, but the Bills will eat contracts of guaranteed money. They have done it in the past. If you do not perform, it doesn't matter what their signing was. O.J. Howard signed like a $3.4 million deal and didn't make it to week 1.
Right.
MVS, they cut week 3 or 4 last year. He was guaranteed contract. So to sit there now, Samuel may be too much to eat. We're talking about $11-12 million to eat, but I think they would eat $2 million if they think Elijah Moore is not the guy. And to roll with the development that is Shavers, it's been another camp of glowing remarks from Joe Brady and Sean McDermott time and time again. I think Shavers has done enough to become the wide receiver 5.
Interesting, Dan. So one thing that we didn't address, though, whether you're talking about wide receiver, you did mention Codrington earlier, not good on defense. Do they have the luxury and the ability to keep one guy that's just a specialty guy for returns?
If that is the case, it would be Chenault. And I think very highly of Codrington in his return game. I think it's just a matter of time before he breaks a kickoff return for a touchdown. He's been close before, but look, he offers you absolutely nothing defensively. He is not a defensive back. So if you want to say Chenault is our return guy and he can play wide receiver 6 in that case, if that's the quote-unquote 6 wide receiver you take, and then you always know you have Shakir as the punt catcher if need be and those kind of things. You could have Ray Davis return kickoffs like he did a little bit last year. So you have some flexibility there. It's just a matter of, like I said, if Codrington could be a valuable cornerback 5, we'd be having a different conversation. I just don't know if the way that the roster is constructed, because Chenault would also have to do a little bit of punt return duties on, offense. Like he'd have to tackle. Like I don't know where he is necessarily there. I know there's excitement around him. I'm higher. I think there's more upside with Codrington in the return game, but I know Chenault gives you more versatility in the grand scheme.
Dan Fates, 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus. Dan, tell everybody what is coming up both on 13 Wham and Buffalo Plus this week.
Yeah, we did a podcast yesterday. We recapped practice. Mike, Jenna, and I were all up there in Buffalo. And then we will have a recap from the preseason game as well. We also have shorts, TikTok, Instagram, all of that fun stuff, wherever you find Buffalo Plus. And I appreciate it, guys. I apologize again for being late, making you guys stretch. I'm, just daddy daycare today. So shuttling the kids around. I apologize again.
Dude, we've been there. We know. We know. You made some time for us, and that's important time that you're spending with your kids while you're talking Bills football with us, Dan. So don't apologize for being a good dad. We appreciate you, bud. We'll talk again soon.
Take care, guys.
Dan Fates, 13 Wham, Buffalo Plus, joining us in the sports bar.
Who covers this team that has said, Gabe Davis, do it? I've yet to hear.
No.
That seems to people that cover this team versus fans.
Sean McDermott told you all you need to know.
As soon as he mentioned medical.
Sean McDermott told you all you need to know.
From my standpoint, had a good conversation with Gabe, just getting caught back up on things and kind of his journey over the last year or so. And it was a good conversation. And then, really from there, that was it at this point for me. I know he had, did some other things in the building and with our medical staff as well. But for me at that point, that was it. But it was good to see him.
I don't know that Sean McDermott would come right out and say we wanted to talk to him about what the future looks like in Buffalo, but we reminisced. We had a conversation. We caught up. Okay, you caught up, and then what? And then he went to the medical. We went to the medicals and the medical staff. Okay, I don't think it's happening. I don't hear anybody clamoring for Gabe Davis. I think it'd be a mistake.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a mistake. You don't have to do it. And the Jags are telling you all you need to know too. We're gonna eat all this money. Go bye-bye.
It's almost one of those things, too, like if you want Shavers to develop, do you need the shadow of Gabe Davis on the practice squad? Because honestly, that'll become just one of those, when do we promote him? When do we promote him? When do we promote him?
Yeah, I don't
let's shift the focus. The secondary's on fire right now. If Trey White is hurt, oh my God, what are we doing? That should be the concern.
Yeah, for sure. Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network. Oh, and also GR. He's been vocal on this team's inability to improve in the secondary post Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, and the Cole Bishop performance last weekend. Sean McDermott's words this week. Yeah, we'll get Nate's take on all of it. And now on top of it, you've got the Trey White injury, which we're still kind of waiting to see if anybody has any idea of the severity. Maybe we won't find out until we get closer to kickoff on Saturday. But he'll be joining us. Nate Geary will be joining us next hour in the sports bar. We have time for your calls at 866-4FAN. Gino, I know you have a week one game that we want to preview.
We do, and I will also give you the week one game you missed while you were out. I'll just kind of graze that one and throw you a little fastball there, too.
Okay, we'll get to that and more next. 866-4326 to join us in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester. WROC AM, WBEE HD2, Rochester. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan, Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Well, concerned with Tre'Davious White as he left practice early today. Also leaving practice early, Christian Benford. Benford says he's just fine. Josh Allen is not going to play in the final preseason game in Tampa. Head coach Sean McDermott on the goal of Bills and Bucks.
Evaluation overall, it's two-pronged, right? Evaluation, continued evaluation, making sure we have the evaluation right, wanting to see certain players that are in competition with one another, and then this piece over here is trying to move our team forward like today and making sure that we are getting ourselves ready to go here as an overall team.
5 o'clock for our pregame coverage beginning on Saturday. Nate Geary from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network will join us later this hour. Rochester Red Wings got whacked 16-5. They lose at home today to Toledo. No score in the first between the Mets and Nationals. Dodgers are up 5-1 on Colorado. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
We'll talk about the Buffalo Bills with Nate Geary from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network and our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR in Buffalo, here in less than 20 minutes or so as we welcome you back into the sports bar. And thank you for making us part of your day at 95.7 FM, AM 950, Odyssey, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, our YouTube channel. You can even stream us on Twitch at The Fan Rochester as well. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Yeah, can you imagine? We're right around the corner, Danger, from our week 1 survive and advance. I don't think there's any suspense with that this year.
Denver.
It's like we'll get all excited.
And then everybody will lose because Denver will get upset at home by Tennessee, and we'll be like, what the hell? What the hell? It happens.
I want to say that's not going to happen, but then again, somehow Jacoby Brissett out-dueled Joe Burrow last year in week 1.
Right.
Somehow.
Yeah.
A team that picked number 4 overall against a team that we all hold in high regard, but maybe we should take a closer look at the Bengals.
Yeah.
Before we get to today's week 1 matchup, this was from Thursday, and I'm putting you on the spot. Little improv, which I think
from Thursday. Today is Thursday.
Today is Thursday. This would be from Tuesday.
Okay.
Just kind of like Tuesday from Hard Knocks where they're doing the improv.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So here's your improv.
I've been to those kind of classes.
Well, what is the purpose of that when it comes to football?
Quick thinking. Quick decisions. Quick thinking. Being quick on your feet.
I guess.
Using your brain. Being quick on your feet. It seems corny and goofy, but I get it. I understand it. If you've been through an improv class or you've ever been a part of that kind of, it is kind of like what they were doing there. There's a ton of different exercises that you can do to work on your improv skills, but I think it is quick thinking. I think it's quick decision making, and it's fun. It's team building and it's fun.
So it's a little unfair that I'm putting you on the spot in terms of this game.
I can handle it.
It's a divisional game. Giants of Washington, Commanders -6.5. Mike Danger, who do you got?
I'm going with the Washington Commanders. Who's this rookie running back that wants to be called Bill?
Do you know why he wants to be called Bill?
I'm not really sure, but I'm kind of all in on somebody who just says, "Yeah, my name is Bill."
Because growing up, everybody he thought or said he looked like Little Bill. You have to be of certain age.
Little Bill.
Little Bill.
Little Bill Cosby. The Little Bill was the Little Bill Cosby. It was the Little Bill animated series that
Little
was
Bill, yeah.
backed by Bill Cosby. Okay.
Little Bill.
He wants to be called Bill.
Jacory is his real name, but just call him Bill.
No, I'm down. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we try so hard sometimes to come up with a nickname. Remember, who was the running back for Tampa who had He was short in stature.
The muscle hamster.
The muscle hamster.
But who was Doug Martin?
Doug Martin, the
That's
muscle.
it, yeah.
Good pull, Gino. The muscle hamster. He hated that
Improv.
nickname. Hated that nickname. Very good. He hated that nickname, and because he hated that nickname, it didn't really stick. I mean, we all called him the muscle hamster. He hated it. So I'm all for this guy saying, call me Bill, and I will call him Bill. I don't even know his name. I just know he had a big play on Monday night.
I think we should, my buddy Andy in California says, we should just name our pets like some regular names, like Joe,
Yeah.
or Mike. Or,
Right. My first cat, when I was single and lived in an apartment, I could have a cat. I named him Bill. Bill the cat.
Bill the cat.
Right. It
But
was
that's-
perfect. And we old man names. If your dog is an old man, like my dog's name is Walter, it's an old man name because he looks like an old man. So yeah, I'm all for it. Bill, the running back, Jaden Daniels, still looks good. I mean, like from what I saw, just in a little bit that we saw on Monday night, I'm not saying that guy's going to suffer a drop off.
I'm threading the needle here on this one. I'm going to take the points in the Giants, and here's why. If it's Mr. Unlimited, he's going to go out there and not turn the ball over, and it's going to be dink and dunk.
No, you'll get a couple moon balls up out of him.
You think so?
Yeah, early in the season, I get a moon ball or two out of him.
I just think the Giants will fire around, keep it close. The Commander's not right out of the gate. I think 6.5 is too much. So
6.5 does feel like a lot, but did you see what they did to the rookie from Penn State? The Giants, like to see Abdul Carter get thrown around like a rag doll by a tight end. I'm like, oh no! I mean, I'm high on that guy, like anybody.
He gets up and then he gets
smacked
thrown down
again.
again, yeah.
Right, just absolutely punished. And maybe that's his welcome to the NFL moment. But for anybody that wanted to say and compare him to Micah Parsons, being that they both had that Penn State pedigree, I'm going to say I got to see it first because that was ugly.
If you thought Giants Commanders was bad, it's not great. Well, let me present to you this game, Danger. We got to do it at some point. Miami at Indianapolis. The Colts, for some reason, -2. This game is gross. If Miami wins this game, they're going to be the fool's gold team. Their schedule after this: home Patriots at Bills, home Jets at Panthers, Chargers at Browns.
Oh.
Look, this team could be 5-2. Conversely, if they lose this game, swing it to 2-5, maybe 1-6, with the meat of their schedule still ahead after that Browns game. Daniel Jones sucks, but Miami is worse. Colts -2.
I'm going Miami.
Oh.
I'm going Miami. And it hurts me to say that, but I think, when we just compare rosters, I think Miami is the more talented squad. I am not confident that McDaniel is going to have a job at the end of the season. But that schedule is tasty, and they could be an early season darling, even though this preseason, it feels like the Dolphins are just kind of a disaster. You still have McDaniel. You have Tua at his healthiest, as healthy as he's going to be all season. Tyreek Hill is still fast. Maybe not as fast, but he's still fast. Waddle is still fast. They've still got weapons. Achane is fast. I mean, like they're going to work McDaniel's offense better in week 1 than they will any other point in the season. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they can beat Daniel Jones. He's terrible. That's a rough look for Indy.
And now the agent for Anthony Richardson saying that the Colts did not provide an environment.
Oh boy.
They're trying to have it both ways. I think the coach is worried about his job in Indianapolis, and in order to kind of keep everybody at bay, he's thinking, who's going to give me the best chance in week 1? And I think as bad as Daniel Jones is, Danger, Anthony Richardson hasn't shown anything that would make you say he's the guy. However, this is the year to find this out, is it not? But because I'm coaching for my job, if we talk about the Giants situation where we're making wrong decisions based on job security, well, then the Colts is worse than that.
Yeah, it's funny, though. You see these guys who were offensive coordinators and got tapped to become head coaches, largely based on the success of the offenses that they were a part of, where their quarterbacks were stars. Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Brian Daboll, Shane Steichen. Like, you still, if you're the head coach, you're beyond that now. You have to be more than the guy that hitched his wagon to Jalen Hurts or got something out of Jalen Hurts. like Shane Steichen, if Shane Steichen is worth his weight and deserves to be the head coach of that team, then you would make Anthony Richardson work. And if it's not Anthony Richardson working, or Anthony Richardson doesn't have the work ethic, or there's other issues, then you didn't do your homework. I don't have any sympathy for you. You didn't do your homework on the guy. You didn't know that was what he's coming in the league with, that he doesn't. You knew he didn't have experience. So maybe he's not the quarterback whisperer that everybody thought he was. Or maybe they just thought, oh, well, he worked with Jalen Hurts in Philly. It'll absolutely work with Anthony Richardson. No, it doesn't always work that way. The relationship isn't there. And I don't blame him for turning the page on Richardson. He tapped out of a game, coward. Come on.
I went back and I watched that quote, and he was asked in that October game, why did you tap out? I've been doing a lot of running. I was tired. Oh.
Not a great moment. Not a great moment for the NFL.
Danger. I appreciate you. You got up very early on Tuesday morning. Your flight got in late last night. I appreciate you not tapping out today.
Yeah, no, I won't do it. I will not do it. I think in the history of the sports bar, I think I had to tap out once in the middle of the show for an emergency. It was either that or we would have had a big mess on our hands.
Same. I had an emergency on my hands, too.
Yeah, emergencies are different. But no. I've been running a lot. I'm tired. Got to get out. No, come on now.
No, there's no tired in the sports bar.
Hey, speaking of tired, can I take a moment here before we get to Nate Geary and return to the Buffalo Bills and today's practice and the preseason finale? My wife, Sandy, I'd like to thank her for single-handedly increasing the value of our neighborhood. I don't know if your neighbors are like my neighbors, but when a house in our neighborhood goes up for sale, everybody wants to know, what's it going for? What did it sell for? Everybody's in everybody's business, and it's not really everybody's business. It's all out there now on Zillow.
Yeah, you see that on Zillow,
right.
And we're all rooting for things to go up, but inevitably that'll make your taxes go up. I don't know where you're going with this.
Well, so my wife has single-handedly increased the value of our neighborhood as she's going through a challenging period for women, perimenopause. She's trying to increase her bone density, and her mood has been a little bit more unpredictable than normal. She's taking up walking with a weighted vest. She go for a walk with the dog, throw on the weighted vest, walking with the weighted vest. And maybe you've seen white middle-aged women walking with a weighted vest in your neighborhood. And to that, I would say congratulations, because that means you live in a nice neighborhood where life isn't hard enough. You have to add 12 pounds to your walk. So if you don't see them out, well, you aren't necessarily in a bad spot. It just hasn't made its way to you yet. You may have a neighborhood of CrossFitters. Maybe you have a neighborhood like Sean McDermott, perhaps some hot yoga in your neighborhood. If you don't start seeing middle-aged women walking your neighborhood with weighted vests before the calendar flips, maybe just start doing it yourself. Your property values will probably go up. And if they don't, it's okay. It's still pretty good exercise, and you can pretend that it's a bulletproof vest.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. A lot in there, and some of it I won't comment on.
I saw on my way into work today, and I feel pretty good. I feel like I live in a pretty good neighborhood. On my way into work today, I saw 3 middle-aged women walking with a weighted vest. And I live in Greece, North Greece, East Hilton.
Is that just a fad, or is there really science behind
Somewhere
this?
Somebody said if you're going through perimenopause, you have to worry about osteoporosis and bone density, and the best way to do that is to do this, add a little weight to your walks. And I'm telling you, I see it all the time. I know I'm not alone on this. I'm not making this up. And Gino, if you haven't seen it yet in your neighborhood, don't worry, you will. And if you don't, it's okay. Maybe just go to Amazon, get the executive producer 20-pound vest.
See, I would say, because the executive producer works for, and they're a not-for-profit, I mentioned it, Lifespan, Tai Chi, balance, center of gravity.
Sure.
I
mentioned CrossFit. I mentioned hot yoga, Tai Chi. You could put that in there. I put Tai Bo in there. Give me some Billy Blanks. I'd say maybe even a little Tai Bo if you're trying to increase that bone density and work your way through perimenopause. It's something. It's something. And when I see it, I'm like, oh, good. What you're saying to the world is, my life isn't hard enough. I need to add more to my life. I need to add a little weight.
Sean McDermott would say, she's just practicing being uncomfortable. We need to be more comfortable being uncomfortable.
I would like to raise a glass to anybody who has seen the middle-aged woman wearing the weighted vest. Congratulations. You live in a nice neighborhood.
We don't have that in Spencerport. I can't tell you.
It'll happen.
It'll happen.
It'll happen, Gino. We got to get to Nate Geary covering the Buffalo Bills on the Buffalo Bills Radio Network. You hear him on WGR, our Odyssey Sports sister station. We are long overdue for a conversation with Nate about the Buffalo Bills preseason up to this point and what's ahead this weekend into week 1. We'll cover it all with Nate Geary next on The Fan.
obsessed. Sprinkle in Amerks hockey, and you know why we are the Fan Rochester. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Headline from practice today, Tre'Davious White leaving early. No update on his status. Also leaving early was Christian Benford. Benford says he's fine. Head coach Sean McDermott saying no, he's not going to play Josh Allen Saturday.
You got the reigning MVP, and I feel like he's shown to this point that he's in a good spot. He and I talk about that, and listen, he's always going to want to play. That's what competitive people want to do. They want to play, but I have a responsibility as well to protect him, and in doing so, protect our team. So, again, I think he's on schedule, and he's looked good.
Nate Geary from the Buffalo Bills Radio Network joins us next year in the Sports Bar. Red Wings gave up 2 home runs in the top of the first, and that's all Toledo would need in a 16-5 win on the Major League scoreboard, bruising the Cubs 2-1 there in the 7th. Mets up early on Washington 1-0. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Back in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us. You mentioned the Nets, Gino. I got to do right by my guy.
But, they are been floundering.
I got to get the Mets on here for my guy, super fan over here, Gene Battaglia.
You want me all getting angry.
No, just want to see how focused you can be in the heat of the moment of our conversation with Nate Geary from WGR and the Buffalo Bills Radio Network. Good to have you on with us, bud. I want to just kind of give you the floor out of the gate here because I know that's something that's come out of Saturday's loss. I'm sorry, Sunday night's loss in Chicago. Your concern for Cole Bishop. Your concern for the Buffalo Bills secondary. Welcome back in, Nate. How are you?
Mike, Gene, great to talk to both of you again. I appreciate you guys bringing me in for the doom and gloom and not for, I don't know. What do we got that's positive? Josh Allen, he's great. No, but the secondary, today, if there wasn't already concern about the secondary, cornerback 2 and safety, there certainly is, cause for more concern with Tre'Davious White. Obviously, we don't know what the extent of the injury is, if he'll miss any time at all. But certainly not good when your, rookie first-round pick who has missed most of training camp it doesn't look like he's going to be ready to go by week 1. Now you've got the guy who, frankly, I wasn't given the, CB2 job, a little bit de facto because of the injury to Hairston, but, Trey White had earned the right to kind of start the season as the starter. And then obviously the conversation of the biggest concerns for me is at safety with Cole Bishop and kind of his lack of reps and I don't know, I guess I was a little under enthused watching him on that first drive. And I would say it's probably not a great sign that he's playing in the third preseason game. Will probably be, again, the only starter playing in that game. So, yeah, all in all, I mean, I could talk all day about the issues and concerns I have about this defensive backfield, but it starts at safety and obviously cornerback too.
Yeah, I mean, is there any other viable option if it's not going to be Cole Bishop? Would you entertain Cam Lewis? And it's a hypothetical because he's not healthy, but Hancock, there were some positive reviews there. What are the other options if they decide, man, that didn't look good there for Cole Bishop coming up Saturday?
I think the most logical option is Cam Lewis. I still am not totally convinced that Hancock is going to be – listen, he's not listed as a safety right now. He's listed as a nickel corner. Cam Lewis is listed as a safety and not a nickel corner, which was confusing to me when the first depth chart came out. So when the final 53 comes out and the official depth chart finally releases, until Jordan Hancock is listed as a safety, I got to just go with what the team is telling us, which is he can play both positions, but we view him right now as a slot, as a nickelback. So until that changes, I kind of just have to work with the information that the team has given us and what we see at practice. And I think it's tough to know for certain because obviously the injury to Hancock that happened last week as he was playing nickel corner, by the way. The other thing is that Cam Lewis has been out for the last 7 to 10 days. I think with like a soft tissue injury. So, not knowing exactly how. Listen, guys, I don't think they can go into the season with DeMar Hamlin. I was a little puzzled by the move to bring him back in the first place. I could get to a place where I understood it because they trust him. He knows the scheme. For me, I kind of keep going back to it being a failure that they didn't bring in a veteran to push Cole Bishop a little bit, or even if it's not just Cole Bishop, but feel like you have a guy that can step in if Taylor Rapp's going to miss games, which he always will. The way he plays, he's a reckless player, puts his body on the line, just like Taron Johnson. Right? Taron Johnson's going to miss a game or two, which is why I think it's so important to have a guy like Cam Lewis, which is why I think that if they ultimately decide that Cam Lewis is, these are Brandon Beane's words, probably the best backup nickel corner in all of football. That's why it was puzzling. He was listed as a safety and vice versa with Hancock. I don't know that you can afford to put Cam Lewis in a situation where he's going to play safety and start at safety over Cole Bishop if this over the next couple of weeks, that's what they decide they need to do. Because if for whatever reason Taron Johnson goes down, well, now you've got to shuffle up a whole bunch of other stuff. So long story short, it's not an ideal situation. And listen, I spent, an hour this morning going through every depth chart in the NFL. Let me tell you, there's not a lot of teams with three good safeties. So I don't even really see a trade candidate out there. So if they're going to make a move, they kind of do it quick, guys. They're running out of time, and onboarding is going to take a couple of weeks. If you're really serious about, inserting someone else in the lineup, I don't think they are. I think they want to see this through. I think they want to give him a chance, Cole Bishop, to show what they thought they were getting in him when they drafted him in the second round. But thus far, guys, it's been a slow and disappointing start to a career that I think a lot of people were very high on. I remember the draft. I covered it. I did the second day of the draft, and hearing the way that people were talking about Cole Bishop, it was like, well, why didn't he go in the first round? So I think we're seeing some of that now.
So trust, that's the word. That's the word that we always hear. McDermott needs to trust his players. And you mentioned, the veteran that was supposed to come in and help push Cole Bishop. They must not trust Derek Forrest as far as they can throw him, because that was a guy that came in with a little bit of juice that everybody thought, oh, well, he's still young, and he had a really good stretch there for a season before Dan Quinn got there in Washington. He's barely out there. What's going on with Forrest?
Invisible. Listen, though, I agree on the trust aspect. You have to earn this coaching staff's trust in order for them to put you in better positions. And there's a very easy route to it. Be available, be in the right positions, listen, don't make the same mistake twice. It's not a complicated algorithm to get the so-called trust. And I think Cole Bishop, for instance, is having trouble building and developing that trust because he's not available. He's not on the field getting reps. I don't know. I thought that Derek Forrest could really push DeMar Hamlin off of this roster. I don't know that I've seen him play in anything other than the fourth quarter and mop-up duty. I at least thought that the special teams aspect was going to be there. I don't see really any route of him making the 53. I'm very underwhelmed and a little disappointed. That was supposed to be kind of the veteran move that at least gave them somebody with starting experience in the league. And, watching some of his film, it feels like he's been on the field as much as I have.
So when we pull up the names, they're familiar names here. Like, okay, if the answer isn't here, do the Bills, Brandon Beane, go shopping? Justin Simmons at safety, whether it's bringing back Rasul Douglas or whoever it may be at corner. Is there anything that we can get behind at this point, Nate, in terms of anything that might be sitting out there?
Well, Rasul Douglas might be a break glass in case of emergency. Listen, if Maxwell Harrison ends up starting the season on the PUP list or the injury reserve with a designation to return, and Trey White is going to miss any time, I don't know, either of you guys feeling good about Dane Jackson with what you've seen? But stop me there, right? I don't think any of us feel particularly comfortable with that. And I like Jamarcus Ingram. You could probably get through a couple of games with Jamarcus Ingram, but man, how did we get there? A fringe roster guy talking about starting week one against the Ravens seems pretty horrifying to me. So at safety, the same is right now, looking around the league, there's not a ton of trade targets. Justin Simmons last year in Atlanta, definitely isn't the same player that won the second team All-Pro award in Denver in 2023. It's just, whether it's injuries or age catching up to him, he's not the same player he was. Is this version better than what they have? I don't know. Marcus Williams is out there, the former Ravens safety. He's 28 years old, coming off of an Achilles injury. I know he visited Pittsburgh last week. They went with Chuck Clark instead, so it's possible the physicals there and the medicals haven't quite checked out on him where he's 100% ready to go. Outside of that, guys, there's not a whole lot working. They brought in Julian Blackmon early in the offseason during free agency. He ended up signing with the Saints. He could be a potential trade candidate if the Saints, but it looks like the Saints have pretty unrealistic expectations on themselves. They're trading, draft picks for 28-year-old second-year receivers. So I don't really know what they've got going on. But at the end of the day, guys, the list is short. It's not particularly, talented at the high end. You're kind of hoping and swinging and praying that a Justin Simmons can return back to his 2023 form. He's 31 years old. It's not like he's, 35 and kind of over the cliff. You would think he's got some football left there. But, guys, unless a move is made here in the next 24 to 48 hours, I just don't know how you can sign a veteran. Even if he has familiarity with the system, which I'm not aware that he is or does have that familiarity, I don't know that you can reasonably expect him to be ready for a week 1 or even like a week 3 or 4 insert into the starting lineup.
Thank you for exploring all of those options with us, Nate, and not mentioning the name Jordan Poyer. I think some of us forget how he looked in Miami last season. We appreciate that.
I didn't forget. And somebody, I think it was Alex Brasky that suggested, posted, it was like, I would love to have Jordan Poyer back week 1 to lead the charge, but that's about it.
Right. Let's go to the offensive side of the ball, and it feels like it's been a long time. These are almost like first world problems where the biggest battle is like, all right, how does it shake out for wide receiver 5? Who, do they carry 5 or do they carry 6? I mean, there are teams out there looking for wide receiver 2, and we've got this wealth, and I guess with that, I'm asking, the Samuel deal is ugly, and it sure seems like he could probably rise up a depth chart for a more wide receiver needy team, but those teams aren't going to look at that contract and make the kind of deal that needs to get done to get him off of this roster?
Yeah, I would say that, and I would also say that I think it's a tough ask right now to have to give up assets to a receiver that's 29, 30 years old, who's often injury prone like that. I think it's a tough sell. And I think in a perfect world, the Bills could find a suitor for Samuel, unload. I think they save like $6 or $7 million by trading him, but he can't really be a cut candidate. And I think that puts them in a difficult leverage position with other teams. Teams know the Bills can't cut him. Well, what the heck can the Bills get for him other than a conditional pick or something? You know what I mean? A conditional 7th. I was joking yesterday and said, cash considerations. That's really more like a Major League Baseball thing. That's not really something that happens in the NFL. So, are the Bills willing to sweeten the pot? Samuel and a 6th for a 7th or something like that. I think that's really what you'd be looking at. So I think at the end of the day, I think he's going to play on Saturday. I think they need to see what they've gotten him. He hasn't played much in this preseason. Obviously, last year, the turf toe really hindered him, I would say, for the better part of 10 to 12 weeks. And didn't really start making an impact until late in the season. So, listen, I still like the idea of Curtis Samuel. I always thought, he had his best year under Joe Brady. It just hasn't come together. And at best, guys, he's the 4th in the pecking order in terms of the wide receiver room overall. And you're talking about maybe the 5th or 6th guy in the pecking order making $8+ million. It's not an ideal situation. And a guy that hasn't stayed healthy and hasn't really shown that he should really be a guy that they feature or find plays for, right? So he reminds me of how they sort of treated Isaiah McKenzie for the better part of 3 seasons. Every year you talked about what it could be and what it could look like, but at the end of the day, there was never a real motivation or dedication to actually having it come to fruition. And through a year and a training camp, it has very similar vibes for me.
Nate Geary, Buffalo Bills Radio Network, WGR, our guest. I'm just wondering, Nate, how many jobs are actually up? Like in secret, they would never tell you. Like, all right, is it 49? Is it 50? How many decisions are they still trying to figure out? I don't know if they made a decision yet or not. As you were talking about the wide receiver on Elijah Moore, like, could he save his job here, perhaps? Against Tampa Bay on Saturday, Nate.
Yeah. I don't want to make too much of a preseason game that had a backup offensive line against starters defensively with Mike White throwing the ball. I think it's a hard evaluation. I still, right now, if you said, Nate, you get, I don't know, whatever they might save, a couple $100,000 by cutting Elijah Moore or trading Elijah Moore and bringing in Gabe Davis for a veteran minimum, I wouldn't do it. I think if you're asking me who would you rather have, a bag of cash and Gabe Davis or Elijah Moore, I'd take Elijah Moore. I just think there's more juice, there's better separation. And I think he's finding his way, his role with the team. And I didn't think it was going to happen overnight. He's not a guy they signed in March and was here during all the offseason programs, right? He was May, June signing. So he was a little late to the program. I still think he's a guy that you want to keep around. And I think if you ask me Samuel or Moore, I'm definitely leaning towards Moore. I just think it ends up being financially complicated with Samuel. So I'm not ready to fully evaluate him until he gets time with Josh Allen and the ones. And they may not get that luxury, right? So they're going to have to make hard decisions. But I think he's firmly their number 4 receiver. And we'll kind of see what happens with Samuel and obviously Shavers. But I would have it would be a tough pill to swallow, cutting Elijah Moore before we ever see him play it down with Josh Allen.
There's another element of this as well in terms of the wide receiving room and whether they carry 5 or they carry 6. And you mentioned Shavers. It feels like every year at this time we're hearing all of the praises in the direction of Tyrell Shavers. What about the return game and a player who could play on special teams that might also be a wide receiver? Do you have any sense that Laviska Shenault has broken away from Brandon Codrington? The Bills have the luxury to carry Codrington as just a returner because we've seen this preseason. He ain't much of a defender.
Yeah, I don't know how they could look at Codrington and the performance. I think that was a big opportunity for Codrington to show that he could play slot corner in the NFL at a level where, hey, we can trust he's going to be out there. He's going to make the right decisions. He's going to be where we tell him to be. I'm not sure that's the issue with him. I just don't think he's an NFL corner. And I think that puts the Bills in a difficult situation because I think you can make the case that, listen, is Shenault an every down boundary or slot receiver? No, he's not. But I think they can make a case and an argument to themselves that, if there's an injury to Joshua Palmer, if there's an injury, to one of their receivers and he's got to play spot duty, that they feel he's an NFL level talent. He can exist in this offense. So I think that just that alone probably gives him the leg up over a Codrington, which is tough because Codrington, I thought, flashed really last year, but it said a lot to me that he was inactive during the playoffs. And I think that whatever had led to that decision carried into this year. And, I think, frankly, at this point, the sort of ship has sailed for Codrington. So if I'm looking at a returner, this is why I also don't think that the book is totally closed on a KJ Hamler, because I think one of your kick returners is going to be Ray Davis. And if the other one is KJ Hamler, he can also return punts. That's why I haven't really closed my door on him, especially if they could find a suitor for Curtis Samuel and KJ Hamler is your 4th or your 5th or 6th receiver. I think that's very viable too. So I think wide receiver is going to be the position. I think Chenault's got the early lead right now, but I think Hamler could change people's minds if he has a big game or they give him an opportunity, he pops off a return. So we'll see what kind of ends up happening there, but I think Chenault's got the inside track.
Are there any surprises on the defensive line? But again, maybe Solomon would be a surprise. Like, this will be a problem, certainly, when you get to that week in October when you're going to have the 2 guys coming back from a suspension. But you're looking at Dwayne Carter. Might it be somebody, A.J. Epineza, or am I making too much of this? Your thoughts on what the Bills carry on the defensive line for an opening roster name?
Yeah, we talked about this morning. I think Larry Ogunjobi's on the outside looking in. They don't I don't believe they have to make a decision on him. He's a vested veteran, so his base salary becomes guaranteed if he's on the roster for the first week. But because he's on the suspension list, I'm not sure that qualifies. So the Bills might just say, hey, we'll let the first 6 weeks play out. And then at that point, if you like what you see, there are no injuries. Dwayne Carter looks like he's on the right track. The young guys, Sanders and Deion Walker all look the part. Well, then that's when you can just part ways, and they end up saving money down the road by cutting and releasing Larry Ogunjobi. So I think that's a very obvious one. I think Solomon ends up being the guy that has Hoyt's spot until he's ready. I just don't know that he's going to get the opportunities to really show that, they got to make a harder decision elsewhere, whether it's Epinesa or, I think he's the only other real logical player that they could potentially move on from at the edge. And I liked what I saw in week 2, the improvement I saw from Landon Jackson. I think he's a player that once he stops thinking so much and he can just kind of play and react, I think they'll be in a much better position with him as well. So I'm really looking at Solomon, and I think Larry Ogunjobi is as good as gone. But we'll see what happens. If an injury happens while he's on the suspension list, that could really just be their insurance policy. But if I was a betting man, I would say that Ogunjobi never ends up playing it down for the Bills.
Nate, who has stood out to you? I know that last week's game was ugly, and it was hard to find anybody that looked like they were willing to show up on Sunday night. But has there been a standout, a surprise player that you didn't think much of going into camp that has kind of raised their hand and said, I belong on this team? Is there a player that caught your eye?
I've been really impressed, and I know it's difficult because I just think the room is so solidified in Frank Gore. Obviously he's got great family lineage, and his dad was an unbelievable player in the league for a really long time. There's just no room for him. I think if this is the year where the Bills try to get him to their practice squad, that he could find his way onto a 53-man roster elsewhere. I think he's played well enough when given the opportunity. I genuinely believe if there's an injury to Cook or there's an injury to Davis or any of their running backs, that I think that they would feel absolutely comfortable having Frank Gore Jr. come in and play football for them. And I think it says a lot about him. But if there's one guy that's really stood out and impressed me, it's him. The guy that I've been a little concerned about, and so much so that I did a little digging today, is the Bills' rookie tight end, Jackson Hawes. Really, every tight end behind Knox and Kincaid have been pretty disappointing, especially as pass catchers. Quentin Morris is right now listed as the number 4 tight end in Jacksonville. Would think he probably finds himself on the outside looking in. It could very well be, if he gets cut on cutdown day, that Hawes goes to the practice squad and Quentin Morris goes back into the position that I think that they'd really like to have him back in. He was a really steady player for them, special teams contributor. So I would love to see something like that. I've just been disappointed in the tight end room as a whole.
Nate, last one for me. As far as wishes, one is obvious, no injuries. I'm going to give you 2 others. I'm looking at the forecast, scattered thunderstorms. I'm like, no, just stay away. Let's get this in, get out. Let's not keep Nate there till all hours. The other one being Tyler Bass. I don't want to come back on Monday and have a Tyler Bass conversation, because is there any concern, him not having kicked here in a few weeks?
I would say there's definitely a level of concern, especially where the injury is. A pelvic injury for a kicker doesn't sound particularly good. I don't feel that I need to see him kick in the preseason. So, we'll see what he ends up doing. But no, I would agree with you, that and the weather. But more so, anytime you're talking about lower extremity injuries, especially like core or pelvic injuries for kickers, I mean, that's the powerhouse. So definitely a concern. Let's hope he gets through that game. There's just not a lot of when you get past the top 20, 25, 30 kickers in the league, you are scraping at the bottom of the barrel. So let's hope the Bills don't have to do anything like that, and Bass is healthy and ready to go for the start of the regular season. There's no setbacks.
You on GR again tomorrow morning?
Not tomorrow morning, Monday morning I'll be back. But I will be on halftime and postgame this weekend for Bills versus Bucks, so I'm looking forward to that.
You know it's football season if we're hearing the voice of Nate Geary. Nate, appreciate you, bud.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you both, and we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming here very soon on our Monday. So looking forward to it.
Love it. Thanks, Nate. Appreciate the time. Nate Geary covering the Buffalo Bills at WGR. You can hear him on the Buffalo Bills radio network this weekend, Saturday night. Bills preseason finale. It's in Tampa.
That didn't even cross my mind. Like, no, Ogunjobi, if everything's fine, after 6 weeks, that could be the likely outcome, right?
It's possible. It's absolutely possible. Well, good stuff from Nate there, as always. Nate always brings the heat. Concern with the secondary. And when you see the report from practice today with Trey White leaving early and with Benford coming up lame. This was Tasker earlier today on One Bills Live.
Trey White and Christian Benford leaving practice early today. Trey with an injury. Christian Benford, after the practice, said, no, he's all good. He spoke to a group of reporters and said he's straight. So it was nothing. He just needed some rest. So he just took some plays off. So Christian Benford's 100%, I guess. Tre'Davious, we don't know about.
Yeah, I would feel a lot more comfortable, Danger, if, like, all of a sudden the Bills kind of talked to one of their regular guys on the beat and said, hey, everything's just going to be fine here. We're not hearing that.
No, we're not. Happy hour is next. We'll try and reverse course because, yeah, a little bit of doom and gloom here for the preseason. I mean, like, where we are right now versus where we were last year at this time. I don't know that we're feeling more confident, but,
is this the typical thing in many NFL markets where, hey, we open camp, everything is awesome, everything's good, and then we start to look, as you would say, under the jeweler's eye, like that's not right, and not realizing that every team has some issues right now.
Our coverage of Buffalo Bills training camp is brought to you by Ace Swim and Leisure. Get the most out of summer. Ace has beautiful outdoor furniture, fire pits, parts, accessories, and chemicals. Everything you need for your pool. Chilai Ave and Ridge Road, Webster, aceswim.com.
WNBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
There is a concern coming out of practice today. It's Tre'Davious White leaving practice early. No update on Trey's condition. Kristen Benford also leaving practice early, but Benford says he's just fine. Sean McDermott talking about the goal of the game against the Bucks.
Evaluation overall, it's two-pronged, right? Evaluation, continued evaluation, making sure we have the evaluation right, wanting to see certain players that are in competition with one another, and then this piece over here is trying to move our team forward like today and making sure that we are getting ourselves ready to go here as an overall team.
Bills and Buccaneers, 5 o'clock Saturday for our pregame coverage right here on the Fan Rochester. The Red Wings gave up 2 home runs in the top of the first. They got whacked after that, 16-5 falling to Toledo. Mets are up 2-0 on Washington. Yankees and Red Sox open a series in the Bronx tonight. Gene Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Happy hour in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us. Thanks for joining us on the free-to-download Odyssey app, listening on iHeartRadio, or tune in, watching the sports bar on our YouTube channel at the Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Good to have you back, bud.
Good to be back.
Good to be back.
What happened while I was gone?
Let's see. Things that happened while you were gone.
I saw the roof of KeyBank Center falling in. What is that about?
That was a sprinkler during a concert that it burst, and it was like a little mini water main break, which then it kind of goes through the foyer, or the main foyer, where everybody could see, and that doesn't look really good. But hey, if you're the Pagulas and you're still looking at the lease and everything, and hey, we need improvements to this arena.
Don't look at the arena. Go look at the beautiful new stadium that's being built across the street from Highmark. That's
our manager's out there today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous. Tim, who does a lot for us here, and he gets the call today like, hey, get you in on a tour at 4 o'clock. I'm like,
really? It's not
Really?
that hard for us to take this show on the road. We do it all the time. We could have very easily done this show today from the construction site.
I think that would be a first. Could we get a good cell phone signal?
You know what though? The headset wouldn't go over the hard hat.
How the hard hat would be.
We would have to use the earbuds or go wireless if possible. I don't know that we're equipped. But that's interesting. I can't wait to get the review.
True story. Like the old Sports Radio 990, we did a broadcast way out in the dirt, which would become Frontier Field.
Oh yeah.
I don't know technically how we did it, but it ended up being so it can be done.
Well, back in the day, you probably got a pole and you stuck that antenna up.
I think they call it a Marty, right? Or something.
Yeah, not to get too inside radio, but yes, you throw the pole up in the air so it could send off a signal.
Day late for National Radio Day.
Oh, yeah. Happy National Radio Day to all who observe and celebrate. Where would we be without this fine medium? Doom and gloom. That's what Nate called it. He's like, hey, thanks for bringing me up for the doom and gloom. But, when you see and hear that Trey White left with an injury to his leg practice today, that Benford was out for a second, when you recognize that Cole Bishop is fighting for reps, trying to get out there and trying to secure the safety position next to Taylor Rapp.
It's interesting. Like, Nate is in the camp of no DeMar Hamlin. Like, you don't have a ceiling with DeMar Hamlin.
I agree. We were talking last year at this time. Does DeMar Hamlin even make the team? Right? We saw him in the preseason, looked fine, and obviously he played plenty. But really got on the field last year for the same reason this year. Cole Bishop was injured last year, training camp as a rookie. Insert DeMar Hamlin, somebody they trust, the big word.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest is history for 2024. Well, this year, your expectation was that Cole Bishop was going to be the guy, and it very well may still be the expectation of the Bills. They just won't tell us. But Bishop missing the time that he missed and then looking the way he looked Sunday night has a lot of people nervous. And then on top of that, the injuries to Max Harrison, now to Trey White. The secondary is dangerously thin.
It's a crying need for they need to bring in somebody, whether that's at safety or at corner to compete. Nate didn't scoff at the idea of Rasul Douglas. Look, of all the bring back Jordan Poyer, absolutely not. Bring back Gabe Davis. He's not healthy, so I'm not going to entertain that. I'm not going to scoff at you. I'm going to scoff at you, say Jordan Poyer. Rasul Douglas, not a great idea, but what are the other ideas you have at this point? It was a system.
Well, their ideas would probably be Marcus Ingram and Cam Lewis, right?
Stephon Gilmore.
I don't see it.
No.
I just don't see it. These vets don't want to play a role on the bench or the practice squad, and they want to get on the field. And Gilmore, in this case, would probably get on the field if the Trey White injury is significant enough.
Is there a secret tanking team that's willing to shed payroll and move on from things and put themselves into position to draft their quarterback?
But then go back to what we were talking about with Nate. The word that is so important when it comes to the Bills giving you a roster spot, giving you playing time, it's trust. They trust Cam Lewis more than they trust any of the guys that we just mentioned. They trust Jamarcus Ingram, who's been here a while. They trust Damar Hamlin. They're working on trust with Cole Bishop, but he hasn't shown with any sort of consistency, at least this preseason, that he can A, stay healthy, and B, be where he needs to be on the field. So there might be a lack of trust there. They trust Taylor Rapp.
Space. That Nate
cover
put it-
space.
Cover space. Just do that. And they were giving big old fat cushions. Now, Danger, not to get you too excited, but maybe we get to October and like, wow, what a difference that Chicago passing attack is. This looks like a version of the Bears. And we look back at that and like, well, okay, maybe that if you put it into context when you didn't have other defensive stars around, it's not as bad as we would have thought a preseason game. So, I want to see something out of Cole Bishop. I want to see something out of Tyler Bass. I want everybody healthy. That's pretty much it for my wish list coming up here on Saturday. I'm of the belief, Danger, that right now, they got the roster picked. Like, if you really, really went in there, maybe there's one or two spots where they're hedging or they'll have a debate, but they know who they want right now on their opening day roster.
Curtis Samuel. Do they know if they have him on their opening day roster?
And well, assuming that no team is going to swoop in and say, all right, you know what, we're gearing up for the draft next year. Sure, we'll do a pick swap. No, he's not going to go anywhere. He's on the opening day roster.
This is Sean McDermott earlier on his oft-injured wide receiver.
I referenced this earlier, Joe. He's looked good. He came back, I think, the first day there. He's been back 2 days, I believe. And the first day, looked good and looked fast, looked fresh, which happens when you're not out there through the 18, 17 practices leading up to then, or 15, whatever it was. So, yeah, he's looked good, and now it's, hey, how does he look through the weekend here, and then what's the role, right? So everyone has to have a role, and how big or small is it, and what does it look like, and some of that's, with Joe and our offense and working with Josh and getting that, rapport built back up.
As I look through the truth window, he is on this team, Andrew.
What's a truth window? What are you talking about?
That's what Sean McDermott calls it. Like, we apply the truth window here.
A truth window?
Truth window.
What the hell happened while I was gone for a couple of days?
It's
Never heard of a thing called a truth window.
I thought maybe since you're Mr. Management, this was the latest in granular or whatever buzzword that we need to, like the truth window.
The one that I find myself using is bandwidth. I hate it, but I do. It does creep into the brain every now and then.
Bandwidth creeps into this show every once in a while. Why don't you guys talk about more of X sport? Well, because we only have so much bandwidth. Sorry, we're not talking about NASCAR today.
Okay, so this is Sean McDermott earlier this week explaining what a truth window is.
This is Sean McDermott on Tuesday when kind of asked, compare Shavers to Samuel, and what kind of is the factor here, and who gets a job and who doesn't?
That's real. You try and look at everything through the truth window and say, this is what we know, this is who this player is and what they've shown us this year. You try and also look back at the history a little bit too and say, what has the history said to us and how has that spoken to us? And so you try and put it all together. It's not easy to do, and it's never always the same from one case to another, but you try and say, what do we know right now, right, from this camp? And because sometimes that's, all you can evaluate, especially when someone hasn't taken a lot of reps, whether it's Curtis or some of the other guys that have just not been able to rep to camp to this point.
He said the truth window. So there's only one. Where does said truth window exist? I want to know more about the truth window.
So we really got off track and talking about the truth window. If Sean McDermott is at home, does he have a truth window?
Oh.
Does he have a room in his basement?
He didn't say a truth window, which would imply multiple truth windows, but there's the truth window.
Does Sean McDermott in his home, in his basement, have padded walls for wrestling? Does Sean McDermott have, like Kirk Cousins, the private speakeasy style room where he hangs all of his awards from wrestling and he needs to go in there and
shrine to me?
Yeah, feel good about himself with the truth window.
This is the me shrine. Does he do Stuart Smalley daily affirmations? I'm Sean McDermott. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. The truth window. I mean, filter would have worked. View it through a filter of this or that.
Yeah, or if he's meaning this context, if we're just being honest with ourselves, like, what's important?
Yeah.
Or we're just being honest with ourselves, the contract we can't move.
Yeah, look, Gino, give the guy some grace. He probably did hot yoga, scrambled his brains a little bit before he spoke to the media on Tuesday, and that's tough. If you're doing hot yoga, I mean, you should have a clear mind, but I don't know where the truth window lies. I don't know where the truth window is. Okay, so that was on Tuesday.
That was one of those on Tuesday where it's like, oh my gosh, can't wait to play that for Danger when he gets back. The interview yesterday, and I thank everybody who's been reaching out saying, great interview with Maggie. It was all Maggie. Maggie Gray was fantastic yesterday, but whoa. She laid a take on us yesterday that stopped me dead in my tracks that it can't be this bad, could it?
And I'm not trying to be negative here, but I just see something that might be a little realistic. And again, I could be completely wrong, but I am a diehard Bills fan, so I could see it maybe going this way. I could see them actually starting 0-2. I could see it and then, ripping off 4 in a row or something like that. I don't know how much to read into Hard Knocks, but it just did feel like there wasn't a lot of juice, and Sean McDermott has kind of said as much. And I think that the Ravens are going to come in with some serious, revenge on their mind. And I could see that game. I could see it going a lot of different ways, let's be honest. And then, you see what happens week 2 with the Jets. It's always tough, those divisional games. The Jets always give the Bills a little bit of trouble anyway. And then maybe they rip off, like I said, 4 or 5 in a row. But, yeah, I'm definitely a little concerned on the defense. And, the offense, I think they've earned the benefit of the doubt. No doubt that, they're an explosive offense. Not a lot of big names in the receiving core, but that's what Josh Allen is for, right? He'll be the rising tide that lifts everybody.
Can you imagine if that happens 0-2? You were talking about how, we've never called in for the show. You had an emergency once. I've had an emergency once. But, we're not pulling an Anthony Richardson. We're tired here.
We're not tapping out.
I might tap out that day if it's 0-2.
Ooh.
If it's 0-2 and a loss to the Jets, Ravens, understandable. In fact, not only am I bracing for it, I'm predicting it. I don't think they beat the Ravens week 1. I reserve the right to change my mind on that. But we all do, right? It's only sports.
It's called moving the goalposts.
No, it's sports talk. It's just supposed to be fun. They're not losing to Justin Fields.
No.
Aaron Glenn is not out-coaching Sean McDermott.
Yeah. I wonder if Maggie Gray is just in the blast zone. There can't be a lot of hype around Justin Fields and his performance for the Jets this preseason. Let's face it. I mean, he's just he's on his 3rd team now. And he could have stayed in Pittsburgh if they wanted to keep him around. There's something off with Justin Fields. And we may never know. He's an athlete. He is a supremely gifted athlete. I just don't know that he's a good NFL quarterback. And I think his past tells you all you need to know. Moved off of him in Chicago. Moved off of him in Pittsburgh. And now the Jets are going to resurrect his career? The Jets. I don't think so. I just don't think he's a good NFL quarterback.
True or false? Josh Allen lost to Zach Wilson.
Oh, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
In fact, it happened twice. Right, so it's not unusual. Yeah, they lost 2 years ago to Zach Wilson. And the year before that.
All right, so to Maggie's point, which team do you think gives the Bills in the AFC East? Which team gives them the most trouble? Because last year they run through the division and everything is great. They lose the last game of the year. Who cares? But it wasn't always easy. It's never always easy against a divisional opponent. Which one gives them the most trouble?
I think it's Vrabel.
You think it's the Patriots?
I think it's Vrabel. I think it's Drake May. Maybe it's not the Sunday night game with Diggs coming back, and there's going to be a lot of hoopla around that. Maybe that's a sleepy December game where you're not all buttoned up and you're gonna fall in Foxborough.
I still think it's Miami.
What?
I do.
No,
I do. I know it's been a rough preseason for Mike McDaniel. He's saying some things that make you wonder if he even wants to be there or wants to be alive. Poor guy.
We're concerned about him, yeah.
We are. We have. But Tua's still, he's one hit away from maybe the end of his career, but there's still some weapons there. Achane is a good player. Tyreek Hill is still good.
They could, the only way they could beat the Bills if it's a shootout. That's it. And what you're telling me is you're concerned about the Bills' secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what has changed? Well, they drafted Maxwell Harrison to cover.
He's probably not out there week 3.
No, he's not. If he's healthy at that point, you're not trusting him in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, you brought him in for the speed. You need somebody that can hang with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Xavier Worthy. I mean, you need somebody that can hang with those guys. Yeah, I still think it's the Dolphins. And when you look at the Dolphins' schedule, as you pointed out earlier today when we were previewing their Week 1 matchup against the Colts, the Dolphins could start off the season with a pretty significant winning record.
Well, if they get the win in Indy, and you brought up a good point, the Colts are it really is one of those. I took the Colts, but I really don't have much of a leg to stand on, right? That's not a game that you're going to be putting any dollars on, right? Home against the Patriots, at the Bills, home against the Jets. That could be 3-1. Let's continue. Panthers, 4-1. Chargers, a loss. Browns.
They're 5-2.
That's a fake 5-2, though.
I don't know, Gene. I hear in the NFL, you don't have to apologize for a win, and every win is a challenge in the NFL. That's what I hear, at least. Interesting. Yeah, the secondary is worrisome. The secondary for the Bills has become worrisome. Tomorrow on the show, we'll see what Tampa's going to trot out there. One of our favorites, Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report, is going to stop by the sports bar at 4:25 as the Bills prepare for their preseason finale. It will be a finale for the first time in his career. Josh Allen will not play a single preseason snap.
That is not anything a Bills fan should be upset about. I mean, what's the worst that can happen to Josh Allen? He steps off the curb wrong, gets struck by lightning. There's going to be lightning in the area, by the way. Scatter. I guess that's the forecast every day in Tampa, so I shouldn't overreact to that this time of year.
Sure is. You pray for that rain to hit. When you're dealing with the heat and the humidity that they have there, you want that rain to come down just to give you some relief for just a few moments. I shouldn't say anything because as much as I love going down to Florida in the wintertime and being a snowbird, I want nothing to do with that state in the months of May, June, July, August, and September. Nope.
We will have some news on the show tomorrow, Danger.
Oh.
We continue the tradition of making sure that we are out and about to begin the football season. September 4th, which is my wife and I our anniversary, but you know what? We can celebrate that on another day.
Whoa.
We can celebrate on another day.
Whoa.
But we'll tell you where we're going to be. It's a new venue, Danger. Pretty excited.
We have a new place.
We got a new home
for NFL kickoff.
That's
the
it's Cowboys,
Eagles and Cowboys.
Yeah. So Thursday's show will be on the road, and let's face it, that's a good way to start the week.
I'm telling you what, man. I'm such a junkie. I'm looking forward to tonight. We have 2 games tonight. Will I have them on? Yes, I will.
Okay. What most people would they be into Yankees, Red Sox, or whatever the NFL is going to serve up tonight? And you got them both on at the same time. Steelers, Panthers on NFL Network at 7:30, and then Patriots, Giants on Prime at 8. Who am I kidding? It's the NFL.
I'm watching both. I'll watch as much of the Steelers and Panthers as I can handle, then I'll flip it over to see what the Pats look like against the Giants. You know I'm going to watch the Giants. I mean, come on. It's the final preseason game. And you know who's going to be behind center for a good chunk of it. Our boy Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito. I'm going to watch because he's Italian.
Speaking of Italian, Jimmy Charlo's making this practice.
Jimmy Charlo. Oh, my God.
Jimmy Charlo.
Getting some run on Hard Knocks. Of course he's making the team, Gino. He's Jimmy Charlo. He's Italian.
How do I know? Coach is giving him a nickname.
Yeah, he's West Point.
You're West Point.
West Point. Good play, West Point. Whoa, Coach liking himself some Jimmy Charlo out there. He likes the effort. That's the effort that gets you on the team. Although, like that effort, at some point the talent needs to kick in too, right? Like for as much effort as we've seen Buffalo Joe give over the course of the last 2 seasons, there's still some growing pains.
It's funny, like guys that really shined here at Fisher, and even week 1, I think Andreessen was fine. Andreessen was not good. I think nobody was good in that Bears game. So do we see Buffalo Joe? I bet we do, and I bet we see a lot of Jimmy Charlo. I just don't know if Jimmy Charlo has the size and the frame to be a productive NFL player, but I could very easily see him getting a practice squad.
Put him on the practice squad. You know why you put him on the practice squad? Because he's Italian.
Back to Tommy DeVito. They can't release him.
Yeah, right? No. Why, it was Barlow. What is his name over there? Brian Daboll. He wants to swim with the fishes. Is he Luca Brasi? No. No, he's fine. You find a way to keep him on your practice squad.
Then you keep 4 quarterbacks. That's as simple as that. What are you doing with this Jameis Winston?
Jameis Winston, get out of here. Get out of here.
There's Russell Wilson. Come on.
Russell
Mr.
Wilson,
Unlimited.
get
Look at this, Mr. Unlimited.
Rookie Jackson Dog, get out of here. It's Tommy Cutlets. It's Tommy Cutlets. It's Tommy DeVito because he's Italian.
At least we don't have to stay up Sunday night, Danger. That's a benefit.
I don't know. I enjoyed Sunday night. I don't know what
you did. Kate Constable did. A lot of Bears fans were like, this is enjoyable.
And what happened in the last 24 hours? They backed up. They paid the backup quarterback. Tyson Bagent gets his extension. First extension for a Bears quarterback since. Don't care.
No way.
Facts.
Really? Wow.
Facts.
Are you okay when getting the contract with man crying? Tyson Bagent in tears. Bringing this up today, and I'm glad Dan Fates pointed this out. That was Hard Knocks with a bad at it. Apparently,
I just thought when you watch Hard Knocks this week and you see James Cook getting the deal, he didn't look happy. And I know that part of that is his personality, that he's not going to give you much or he's going to act a certain way when he knows the cameras are on him. But he just didn't look happy. And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, so is he unhappy because he's settled and he knows that he maybe left millions on the table if he didn't bet on himself this year and hit free agency? Is he unhappy because he just saw this as an opportunity to get out of Buffalo and go somewhere else? And maybe I'm just thinking a little bit too much into it because there was other.
That's it. So, like in the Embedded series, they actually showed him crying.
Gets emotional.
Crying is a strong word. Tears, and that's why he puts on the sunglasses.
Yeah, he gets emotional.
Yeah.
Puts on the sunglasses. Wants to hide that. But again, you could also get emotional knowing, like, all right, they got me. This is where I'm going to be. Maybe it's not where I saw myself when I got into the NFL, but it's where I am now, and it's where I'm going to be.
It's fine. That's fine. We all don't live in paradise, okay? That's just the kind of reality, but it's just fine right here. My concern is danger, human nature. Dan Fate said, no, they didn't get paid top dollar. They should still be hungry. Well, yeah, when you have your horses and your things that you can do drifting, and I wasn't even familiar with drifting until this month, and other things that allow you to enjoy a certain lifestyle, are you still hungry to win football games? And I'm just hoping these guys,
Is Sean McDermott's message growing stale on them? That's what I'm worried about. Because they're professionals. They should be motivated. They should be able to get up every day and attack the day. But McDermott, has been saying a lot of the same things, I'm sure, to these guys over the course of his tenure as head coach. Because I'm saying that because what we're seeing on Hard Knocks, and we're not seeing everything, but what we are seeing is vanilla and generic coach motivational speak that you could probably imagine.
I think we're seeing a coach, too, that has the final word on it. For the final cut, the edit there.
Oh, yeah, he's absolutely.
Because going back to the end of that, I wanted to see, how did he address the team after you lose 38-0? A game that didn't mean anything, Gene. Yeah, but it does mean something.
Didn't count, but it means something.
Right. We didn't see that. Now, was that just the Hard Knocks cameras didn't get there in time? Was it the fact that McDermott maybe went in there and you've done this to your daughters. I've done it to my kids, Danger. Like, if you're really upset about something and you're just kind of silent, maybe that doesn't make for good television. Or maybe the coach didn't want it in, whatever he said.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was curious how they didn't include that.
We'll have week 3 of the preseason for you here on the Fan Rochester as the Bills travel to Tampa. That's coming up Saturday night. And tomorrow we will talk to Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report. Get the latest out of Bucks camp. Also tomorrow, this is fun, fantasy football. Drew Loftus, New York Post, our annual visit.
Yeah, who will give you some different strategies. And I think we're going to be a little fantasy football heavy as we're heading to, Labor Day weekend.
First draft of the season is coming up for me on Sunday, the neighborhood draft. You've heard me talk about my neighborhood before. Of course you have. Because they're Italian.
I felt like I was the one game I went to there, the Giants game. I'm with your neighborhood practically.
You thought you were part of the club, didn't you?
No, all of a sudden I'm seeing the text chain there.
There's a vetting process, Gino. It's not that easy. It's not that easy to win these guys over. We got to get to a round of shots next.
Yeah, we've got a couple moves today for our local teams. The Amerks with an interesting signing, the Nighthawks with a major trade.
Oh, can I say thanks?
Yeah.
Thanks for hooking me up, Gino. I didn't ask for that.
No, don't thank me. Thank the Nighthawks. So Craig Rubzinski came in here and gave us some really good points. And the one thing that fans grabbed onto, hey, they're considering bringing back the old colors, but they can't do it this year in time. So
what, the old purple and teal?
Teal, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I still marvel at the original logo that they rebranded with when they came back as an expansion team. The R with the K built into it. I thought it was great. But now we're kind of like leaned into the actual hawk, which is a sharp-looking logo. It looks really nice in the pullover that they dropped by here. So big thanks to the Rochester Nighthawks. And big news coming up we'll get to here in shots.
Yeah, so we've got that news. And how is it? We didn't hear about this story until now. One of the greatest coaches in our time, somebody shot through at his office.
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah.
And not like an easy target to miss either. I'll put that out there.
Yeah, something's off here.
All right, we'll get to that and more next. A round of shots coming up on the Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger. drive you home every afternoon. Your home of the Buffalo Bills. The Fan Rochester. The Fan Rochester. The Fan Rochester. Sports Update.
There is some concern from today's practice for the Bills. Trey White leaving early. Took a cart that may mean something, may not mean something. They're still waiting a word. Christian Benford also leaving practice early today. Benford says he's just fine. Sean McDermott says, no, Josh Allen's not going to play Saturday.
You got the reigning MVP, and I feel like he's shown to this point that he's in a good spot. He and I talk about that, and listen, he's always going to want to play. That's what competitive people want to do. They want to play, but I have a responsibility as well to protect him, and in doing so, protect our team. So, again, I think he's on schedule, and he's looked good.
Bills and Bucks, 5 o'clock for our pregame coverage Saturday here on the Fan Rochester. Rochester Red Wings got whacked today, 16-5, the final to Toledo. The Mets leading the Nationals 3-1. They're in the fifth. Yankees and Red Sox begin a series in the Bronx tonight. Gene Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
Listen to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan Rochester.
Yeah, while you're at it, download that free to download Odyssey app where you'll get all of our guest appearances. Search the Sports Bar, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you're a podcast listener, you need us in your library. Time for a round of shots.
Yeah, Maggie Gray yesterday, 4:30. You can go back and listen to that.
Oh, Maggie Gray yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday was 4:30.
Yeah,
so.
we should also mention we stream live on YouTube every day. If you didn't know, our channel is the Fan Rochester, and that's a good place to go back and watch any part of the show that you may have missed, including Maggie from yesterday.
Yeah, it was fun doing it with Dan DeLorean while you were out. And funny thing was, Dan DeLorean, every time I brought that up, he would smile and wave to the camera. And like, if you want to know what Dan looks like,
he waves to the camera more than I do. I pretend the cameras aren't even here.
You forget.
I forget. Yeah. I get too wrapped up in all I got going on over here.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Radio.
Let's get to shots.
If the NFL wants something kept a secret, by gosh, they're going to keep it a secret. Only now we learned that Chiefs head coach Andy Reid, his office was shot at. Reid was working alone in his office when the gunfire occurred after midnight on the morning of May 4th, 2024. A bullet goes through the glass of his office, and it lodges in the wall outside of his door. 2 other bullets were fired, but this is where it gets kind of wonky. One hits the 3rd floor of this facility. No one was hurt. And again, it was a time of day where normally nobody's in the office, and authorities don't have any leads on this. And they don't believe that Reid was actually targeted. Since the incident, bulletproof glass was installed in Reid's office.
What the hell goes on in Kansas City? Where the hell do they have their facility? You were there. It's not a bad part of town, is it?
No, the only thing I could think of, but this is why the time of day would rule this out, is that you have this every so often that maybe somebody is shooting something off and oops, didn't mean to do that. And those things can go very far, right?
Sure.
But these were 1, 2, 3 in the direction. It's May. Andy, go home. You're after midnight, May 4th? Really?
I mean, you can rule him out as a target because if he was a target, he would have been hit. He's not a small target.
Well, apparently, he's sitting there a few feet away. Can you imagine, though?
No, I don't want to think about that. That's terrible. And now you have bulletproof glass installed in his office like he's the Pope. That's terrifying. What goes on in Kansas City? My God.
So, couple moves today for our local teams. First for the Nighthawks. Pretty big move. They traded for one of the best forwards in the league today. His name's Zed Williams. Comes from Colorado in exchange for the Nighthawks' first-round pick this year, 10 overall. The team's also swapping second-rounders. Williams is a member of Seneca Nation, 6'3", 235. Ooh. It's going to give the team a physical presence up front. That's not a defender. That's a guy that, my gosh, he's going to clear a path for the league's MVP in Connor Field.
If it was a newspaper headline, would it read "Better Off Zed"? Hi-oh! You wouldn't do the other one that crossed my mind.
Yeah, Zed's dead,
baby.
No, in
Zed's
Colorado,
dead.
Zed's dead.
Yeah, can't run that one.
Who was Zed from that movie, though? He wasn't an actual
No, he was the guy that got Okay, spoiler alert. If you've never watched Pulp Fiction, I think the statute of limitations is up. That movie's old
He's the
now.
guy who owned the chopper at the end? Is that it? Who's
Zed was the freaky cop that came in and wanted to get it on.
Okay.
And got sliced up.
Okay, yep.
And that was it. And then whose chopper is this? It's Zed's. Who's Zed? Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. The great Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction.
The Amerks picking up a forward. This may be the best name of all time. 22-year-old Red Savage. Red Savage played for Michigan State University. Oh, by the way, he played for Coach Leone on the developmental team 2 years ago.
It's a strong name. I mean, we're at the point now with some of these names when you watch college football or you see a name like Red Savage. I mean, all we really need now is like satisfying grunt is your first name. Like after you have that first sip of beer on a hot day. Yeah, that's your first name. It's not even a name.
It's just like a Prince thing. It's just a symbol, right?
Yeah, yeah. How do you spell it? You don't. You just say it.
About Red Savage, like if I said somebody's name Red. Oh, yes, back in the day, Red Shundies, the St. Louis Cardinals. Well, it's because they have red hair. Red Savage doesn't have red hair.
Red Savage now taking the field for the Rochester Red Wings.
Yes, I'm Red Barber here. Welcome to this broadcast. Bringing baseball writer coming up next here on WROC Rochester. Danger, any interest in living to the year 106? Today, we wish a happy 106th birthday to the second most famous Catholic to come out of the Windy City.
Oh.
Sister Jean. Sister Jean, born August 21st, 1919. We got to know her when Loyola Chicago made their NCAA tournament run.
106.
106.
Good for her, man. I guess to answer your question, what is my quality of life at 106? Like, is she enjoying her life? Is she comfortable? Is she in pain? Is she able to get around?
I don't know. What is it like to be in your 90s? Like, nobody talks about this stuff. We see Marv Levy say, Coach, and it's great that he can communicate with Coach.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah.
You imagine Marv Levy maybe there's something in Chicago there where Marv is, where Sister Jean
but I would
is.
just think everything would hurt as hell when you get to that point, right?
Dude, I effed up my shoulder doing yard work this summer. I can't get right. It's driving me nuts. And I'm like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. I'm not that old. I'm not that out of shape. How did I do this to myself? I'm just falling apart. So that's my answer is I'm answering the question with the question. How is my quality of life? I'd love to live to 106. Can I get my shoulder back somewhere along the line? Because I can't use it right now. It's pretty much useless.
I don't think you or I are making it to 106. I'm pretty safe in saying that.
Damn.
Caitlin Clark is another injury to deal with, a bone bruise in her ankle, although this is not severe and it's not clear how this came about. She's been out since July 15th with a groin injury. There are 3 weeks left in the regular season in the WNBA. Top 8 teams make the postseason. Indiana is currently 6th, but without their 4 main players, including Clark and Sophie Cunningham, looks like they're missing the postseason.
I wouldn't say that, Gene, and we can't rule them out until I'm not going to pretend like I know what goes on in the WNBA.
Well, I would say this, and this was my take yesterday. You have a big gaping hole coming up right here this weekend. Unless, hey, Sunday, Little League World Series.
By the way, big
great.
Gaping hole, horrible expansion name team for the WNBA. Continue.
What if they move the WNBA season up a little bit? Because once you get to September, it's absolutely lost. Danger is like, giggling in the corner here.
The Oklahoma City big gaping hole. We welcome them to the WNBA. Who else? Does Houston still have a team? Do they want a team?
No, the Comets moved.
The Comets, they're not there anymore?
They folded, moved.
Yeah, well, maybe it was just the nickname. Maybe the Comets just isn't good enough. Maybe you need to be the Houston Big Gaping Holes.
I would think maybe Arizona with the Grand Canyon.
The Arizona Big Gaping Holes. Yeah, I could see the logo now.
Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics danger. His name is in the news today, not for good reason. His dad accused of attempted murder. Marcellus Brown accused of stabbing a youth football coach over dispute over a parking spot. This allegedly happened in Las Vegas. Because who hasn't done that danger? That you're just going to whip out a knife.
These guys just... So I remember being the sports parent. I used to be intense, but not towards refs, not towards other parents or, other kids. Like, it's just rough on my own kid, like expecting more out of her and pushing her a little bit. And then I realized, hey, this is dumb. They're just kids. Like, you watch the Little League World Series and you see these kids, they're just having the time of their life. I imagine that their parents ride them and they get on them a little bit.
Yeah, I think travel sports has a lot to do with it, too, that we're making this investment in the time and everything else, and it's all kind of a demeasuring contest, if you will. Jason Tatum, by the way, in case you forgot, he's out for this coming season, so Jaylen Brown, a lot on his plate as he's expected to carry the load for the Celtics.
Good luck with that.
Finally, Danger, have you ever heard of Sasha Vickery? Probably not. Or maybe she's crossed your feed, and if she hasn't, by the time you get home tonight, well, depending on what filters you have on your
I can tell you, my algorithm right now, and it's been this, I don't know why, for just basically since videos, short form videos became a thing with TikTok and Instagram Reels and lit white girls shaking their ass to hip-hop. I really don't know why my algorithm continues to feed me this, but I can't shake it. I don't know what my problem is.
Well, for Sasha Vickery, she's ranked 559th in the world. She's going viral. And not for anything she's done on the court here, but it's for her disclosure, which she does off the court. Vickery is an adult content creator on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Quote, I'm very open-minded, and I don't care what people think of me. It's also the easiest money I've ever made, and I also enjoy doing it. We should point out Vickery is 30 years old. At one point, she was the 73rd ranked player in the world. And even though she's not great, she's made over $2 million in her career. If you would like to go on a finger quote date with her, she says that requires a $1,000
So
deposit.
$2 million playing tennis. Do they disclose how much she's made on OF?
No, but she's saying easiest money in her life. She's probably making more annually doing this. And now the fact that she's got some free pub. Today she was in the final qualifier. Can she get into the U.S. Open? And I am very sorry to say Ella Seidel 6-1, 6-2 over Vickery. So Vickery we will not see in the U.S. Open.
Well, weak knees. I mean, all that work that she's putting into OnlyFans. I mean, you need to kind of save your strength there. Was unaware of her. Professional athlete with an OnlyFans account. Proud of the OnlyFans account. Making easy money on OnlyFans. Just
Is this going to be like an NIL trend? I mean, it's like,
you have a daughter. I have two. I just hope that they don't look up to somebody like Sasha Vickery when they're looking at role models for their future. No, thank you. You can go conquer the world. You don't have to go conquer OnlyFans. And if you did, I probably screwed up as a dad, right? That's the old Chris Rock bit. If your girl's a stripper, you're not a very good dad. That's Shots. Man, fun show. Good to be back today, Gino.
This is good to be back.
Thanks for holding it down. Thanks to the Dandalorian for holding it down the last couple of days, too. Whoops.
You're listening to the Sports
I got
Bar
rusty. That's me. That's
fat finger.
Yeah, that's me. That's rust is what that is. It's rust. I have no excuse other than that's rust. That's 2 days of rust. We just kicked it off just in time to end the show. That's unfortunate. But we will return tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Brand new episode, Drew Loftus, New York Post. We'll talk some fantasy football. And at 4:25 tomorrow afternoon, we'll check in with Scott Reynolds, our pal from Pewter Report. Get the latest out of Tampa Bay, the Bills' opponent for Week 3 of the preseason coming up Saturday night here on The Fan Rochester. You missed Nate Geary. If you missed Dan Fates, our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester, you can go back and watch any part of the show you may have missed. I would say avoid the last maybe 20 minutes or so.
That's your finest work.
No, I don't know. I don't know if I'm proud of anything that just happened. But we'll be back tomorrow and we'll try it again. JR Sport Brief is next on The Fan Rochester. Have a great night.